Now that I think about him and Jim Lee in some weird ways, like Scott Williams is almost the between him and whoever the second hottest inker was of that era, I feel like there's a much greater gap than between Jim Lee and whoever would have been the next hottest penciler.
Yeah, because, like, you have to look at the studios, right? So like, Rob would put probably Danny Miki as, like, the number 2 guy.
Yeah. And the influence just isn't there. Like, that's years after Scott Williams really turned that pen into a different tool. And the influence just isn't there. Like, that's years after. All the Silvestri studio, I feel like, copies the Williams approach to inking.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, man. I think we're live.
I picked up that first Jim Lee Batman recently. That feels like it'd be a big vid.
Yeah. You know what else we got to do, man? Because, like, we're going to shoot some good stuff today, but it's not going to be friendly to the algorithm if we don't figure that part out.
Yeah, I was thinking of Luke Skywalker's grandfather's on the way over here.
Yeah. Wet Works should be one.
Didn't we do Wet Works?
I don't think so. We looked at it on, like, Wizard episodes and stuff. And we are streaming. Pretty sure.
Yeah, we'll have to double check and make sure that we did Wet Works. I have Darkness #1, I think. Like, that might be something that... That's Garth Ennis.
It is. That's one of those fuckers, man. That, like, you could get a Darkness #1 and then you find out it's like Volume 3 #1 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like
I bought it off the racks and I don't think I got rid of it.
Yeah.
So if I didn't, I think I still have it. But that's one that might be something. That might even be one that you could somehow juice that Witchblade a little bit with.
Right.
That one underperformed.
Which one? Witchblade?
Yeah, I thought Witchblade would be a big video.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We are streaming. Dudes are starting to pop in.
I got I did a My Comic Shop order a couple weeks ago and got some fun books in there. I'm afraid to say too much with since we're streaming. Stuff would disappear.
Right.
But do you know the Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe? It's the first Garth Ennis Punisher, and it's from like 1995, 96, something like that.
Yeah, that'd be great. You got it?
Yeah, I did. A second printing, but that's a popular book.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no.
And I haven't read it yet. I just have it sitting in the box it came in.
Right.
I have I picked up Razor #1.
Yeah, I got that.
That is nuts. Like, that first one is such a it's such a good outlook because it has the duo shade.
It does, yeah.
It has the black blood everywhere.
Yeah, he was really trying.
It's so
that Everett Hartsoe guy hits me up like, hey, can I get a PDF for your book?
Everett Hartsoe.
I'm like, yeah, he's the...
Yeah. I get him and Hart Fisher because of the hearts and
totally.
Violence.
Same era of comics.
Yeah. How loud's that mic in that position for, like, kind of talking around here?
We'll ask the chat, man. It looks decent. Maybe we put the gain up a little bit. I don't know. I'm gonna email the chat to myself so that I can.
I do worry a little about batteries and stuff.
Email the chat.
I turned everything off on here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just gonna be 4, and then a webcam vid. You know.
Should work.
And then you could just sit on one for next week. You know, since it's 5.
You know what else I got that's really great, and I'm eager to get it on here, is Heavy Metal Dread, which is a collection of the Simon Bisley Bisley Judge Dredds.
Yeah, that's real fun.
It's real funny because if you read about it, they talk how like it was over the top or whatever,
right?
Like too violent. It's Judge Dredd.
You know, editors gotta edit, man.
I suppose they do. Well, yeah, they talk like it's controversial. Like the response to it was, "Guys are going too far," but it's so cartoony.
They talk about
it could be a Looney Tunes,
right?
You know, like it really is like people's heads exploding when he shoots them and eyeballs flying and stuff.
Yeah, that editor-in-chief guy, he sounds like a real fucking dick fuck, man. Like he's on that Future Shock documentary, and he's like, And then when Simon Bisley gets the toothbrush and goes flickety flicky flick.
I love in that documentary that they do color for their bookshelves. They organize their books by color.
When people do that shit, because you'll see Instagrams on that.
Yeah. I know that's a.
And to me, that's
trend isn't quite the right word, but it's like an interior design choice or whatever.
Like what's that?
You'd go nuts trying to find stuff.
What's that one Barksdale? Like the Barksdale boy, the nephew, that's in prison, and then he's a part of the book club, and they're talking about the Great Gatsby, and he's like, "You got Gatsby right? Got all them books. Don't read damn near one of them." and that's what that shit is to me, man. If you're spending all your time fucking organizing your books by color, you ain't reading shit.
Also, you're not finding anything. You'd have to memorize like every single book in order to be able to ever find it.
Yeah, it's real dumb. Jimmy, you'll do all the intros and stuff to keep it.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, and then show off our shit. You can mention Tom, whatever. But, you know, we want to keep it snappy.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to talk to Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, the guys still are not here yet. Like, we wanted to start streaming a little early. Catch them coming in. Like an episode of Seinfeld. About to crack open the chat. Jam, I swear, man, you just made some 46-year-old noises, man.
Yeah, man, I feel it. Chance to catch up a little bit with everybody too by starting early.
Yeah, man. So you guys caught some of those Eastman Laird vids? That was those guys fucking. It's like straight to the main vein, man. Kicking it with those dudes, and they're like, "Let's fucking do some more," you know, like you know, what do we factor in?
Yeah, I love that Kevin Eastman
micro
comes up with that enthusiasm at the end, like he's gung ho, man. I'll do this as long as those guys want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine it ever getting boring.
No.
Even beyond like that initial wave of comics.
Yeah,
like,
you got to do Return to New York. You got to
City at War #1.
All that shit, man.
And then Laird like continuing on. You know, it's
Eastman doing his thing.
Like, what does Mirage do? Is studio wise, like it kept running for a decade.
Yeah. I didn't realize that fourth volume went as far as it did. And I think it was coming. You know what? It was coming out probably during that economic decline shit. Because I had it on my pull list, and then I didn't. But I think I needed to like tighten the boots, man, the bootstraps at that time. And I'm just like, you know what, dude? Like, I'm just not really fucking with new books right now too much. There wasn't that much happening in the aughts. And I love those covers and stuff, but I was done. Like I got maybe the first dozen.
Yeah.
But there's like
that's
maybe,
pretty good.
Maybe 30 something.
Wow, I didn't realize it ran that long.
Yeah, and the last ones are in the teens, man. Like maybe 2017 or something like that.
I had no idea it ran that long.
I could be wrong. It could be 2012.
Like that was a time whenever I was looking at every single thing online about comics, and I swear that stuff was just invisible. It was not mentioned at all.
Yeah, it's real. Like you see their personalities. Like when we're doing these conversations, you ask the questions, and it seems like Peter had a pretty hands-off approach on a lot of things. You know, like didn't have anything to say about the first color or anything like that, and Eastman colored one. You know, so like he's in there. And then just like other little stuff here and there, like, you know, he's like he started the machine, and he, you know, maintained his part of it, but he said that Eastman was all that other shit. Eastman was the other books. Eastman was the other cartoonists who were coming in to participate and do strips, do pages and stuff. When I was talking with Laird on the phone the first day when we were setting up Zoom, I mentioned Tom, like I mentioned the Xerix and how we have like 3 people, and it's like this great bookend thing, man, because like Wayne's the first, Rachel Masalamani might be the last round. If she's not the last round, she's like second to the last round, and then Tom like kind of in the middle. And I was like, yeah, you did this book called Myth of Eight Opus. He's like, loved it. He has that Kirby style, and like, you know, that speaks the Laird language.
It makes perfect sense.
I'm gonna tell Tom that when he comes, man. That'll make him feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's interesting too. Like we have Cho doing that one shot.
Yeah.
There's a Xeric. You know, I mean, the connections are so strange. Like Adrian Tomine with an original Turtles page to go with his Xeric. Like, talk about an unlikely pairing.
Can't put this on cam just because I don't got the permission, but I gotta show this shit to you, man. It makes me feel real foolish about asking.
This is like the Emperor Kayfabe level.
Yeah, right. It makes me real foolish about asking Peter Laird if he has the Kirby artist editions. Because that's that lunch that they went on from the talk. You know, Michael Dooney, that might be Eric Talbot. There's Dooney right there. And then we went back home to look at my Kirby's. And look at all these portfolios, dude.
That's really cool.
Look at all these fucking portfolios, man. Kirby time.
That's great. That's unbelievable.
Fucking forever, people. So I guess that stuff...
I bet he was buying those in the 90s when, like, the Kirby collector... You know, when the Kirby family was selling full books, he must have been buying issues of Kirby art.
It's crazy.
That's gorgeous. Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Imagine being able to just, like, pop open a portfolio and look at that.
Yeah, if we're ever in Maine or Connecticut or wherever the hell he is, man. Like, we might have to take a detour and go get a salad and then...
Some lobster, dude.
Yeah, that's thinking.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then you see he's got the Leonardo one shot. Ain't that slick as fuck?
It's a lot of portfolios in that file.
Yeah, you trying to read that shit?
Yeah.
I think that I can't see much.
TMNT originals there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Good. I'm happy those guys seem to be in good places.
Yeah.
For all the bad stories about old timers in comics. It's good to see a couple good stories.
Yeah, and real smart. How about that Marvel story, you guys? We finally got it on the record, and you know what? We shot a whole episode before I asked it. It just came to mind whenever they said something that kind of put it into my mind, but I wasn't thinking about it at all. You know what it is? Stressful. It's fucking stressful, man. All the buttons and things that need to be clicked and meters you need to watch and stuff. Like, beyond the conversation, there's just other stuff that needs considering, and I'm thinking about a million things at once. But we got it on the record, and it was as you predicted, man. It was as you predicted. It was Marvel trying to get in bed with these guys.
It does make me wonder, like, what everybody else's deals were.
Right, because
I can't imagine somebody like ElfQuest shows up and it's like, we've got a whole, almost a decade of doing this. We're not giving you half of our licensed revenue.
Yeah, I think Richard Pini is savvy. And
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, clearly, look at now that they've got 4 decades.
Yeah.
Like, obviously.
And he's so proactive, you know, he hit us up and stuff.
Almost 5 decades.
Yeah, and you know, Laird was very clear to say it was boilerplate. Mm-hmm. And in the book business, it's called a dummy contract because you're a dummy if you sign the first one.
Right.
That's what I always heard, man. It's a dummy contract if you sign the one that's presented to you.
My last book contract, I think, was over a year of back and forth.
I still do not have a sign. I did not sign Red Room.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they send one and it just you were looking for changes and they never got?
Yeah, it's Harris.
Yeah.
And he said, dude, keep going. Like it's fine. Like it all works out right now. Like with all this stuff and Eric is just like, you know, let's just don't let Harris like move the goalpost or anything like that. I'm like, yeah, no, like I don't know what he's thinking about. You know,
It's real strange to talk to your lawyer about like some of the clauses and stuff where it's like, I don't know what this even means.
Yeah.
You know, like
Does
unclear languages. Both of us, because it'll be like, what is this exactly? And he'll be like, I don't know, that's really unclear language. I'm not sure why they wrote it this way. Not what you want to hear, but I mean, before you sign it, sure. But it's nuts how like ambiguous isn't quite the right word. I read that Ollie Anderson Ollie Anderson's book.
Yeah.
And he talks about when WWE bought out Georgia or wherever he had like a 10% stake, but he said he had gone through the contract over and over and hired 2 law teams for one clause in it, and they both assured him, nope, this is not a problem, this is just standard stuff, and that can't. And that was the loophole that allowed them to sell that out from under Ollie Anderson, and he had paid over 6 figures to be assured that was not a problem.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you know, like the lawyers he pays, There's no penalty. There's no recourse for him. It's like, no, you just lost your company and
a bunch of money
and did like due diligence.
Yeah.
And still lost it. It's that language, man.
The thing, and it's just it's with everything. It's with everything out there. See, like you over deliver and you pride yourself on like hitting your marks and go exceeding. Like I feel that way also. So many of our friends in our sphere are that exact same energy. But there is the worst player on the LA Lakers. There is a guy who is on the bottom rung. And that's in every profession. There's the bad dentist who got his fucking license and shit. There's this dude down here. I went to go get my teeth cleaned once because like my joint was full up, and I'm just like, let me just do this. It was like pre-COVID, but COVID was coming, and I'm like, I just want to go to a dentist before this shit comes to Pittsburgh. The guy had piles. It was one room. There was like the little leaks on the ceiling shits. He had open shirt with like a gold chain. I'm serious. His wife is like right there, like running the books. Piles of stuff. Just a lane to get to the chair. And I looked in the little spit cup and there's like, you see, it's not gross, but you see like little stuff.
That's gross.
And I'm like, this
I
guy.
don't see anything in a spit cup.
This guy is fucking trash. Like, this guy is a criminal. This is black market. He's like the dentist that will do surgeries for the mafia. So like, oh yeah, I got Novocaine. So like, I got a bunch of I got needles and thread. He was a real fucking goofball. He's been in business forever.
That's
awful. Because I've always seen his sign. His sign has always been there my whole life. And
I was ready to make Britt Baker jokes, and now I feel bad even doing that.
Just shocked. At that, and he was also an asshole. He had a sign that said, "Your emergency is not my problem," or like something like that. It was the weirdest fucking setup. I couldn't believe
That's
it.
so strange. That's like one of those old diners where like you have the waitress that's just giving you attitude the whole time, but it's kind of the shtick.
Yeah.
Except I don't know that you want that out of your dentist.
Completely uncomfortable, and it wasn't even anything invasive.
Wow.
I just did not want that dude touching me, man. Like I didn't see, like when you go to a real dentist, they open up the fucking gimmicks out of a little sterile plastic, the little hook thing and shit like that. I don't think that happened.
Ouch.
Yeah. And the dude's been in business for a million years. Like I actually went, because it was fine, but like, let me just see if people say stuff, on Google reviews or the Better Business Bureau and shit. And I'm like, this dude's cooking the books, man. Like if these people ain't fucking saying nothing about piles of shit, like he can't get to anything. It might be years of tax statements, like in piles. And it's like her desk, like it's just piles, and then behind her is piles, and like she got to move piles off the chair to sit on the desk and generate the bill. Crazy.
Wow.
But there's that with every, there's bad GPs, like there's the weakest surgeon, the other surgeon's clown. So Ole Anderson got a deal on his lawyer, and that might be you said he spent 6 figures.
Yeah, two different law teams he went through because he was convinced this clause was a problem.
That sounds like kayfabe.
Probably some of it is. Look, and he even acknowledges it in his book. Like everybody that writes a book, they headlined everything, they sold out everywhere.
Right.
And he says that several times in the book, but
yeah. Because like now we're talking teams now, and it's 2, so it's like, so you found the 2 most unsavvy law teams of what, maybe this is a dozen people, maybe it's a half dozen.
Well, they went to court, so that's why I think he had a team, because it ended up going to trial.
Yeah. There's that part of with Eastman and Laird when I asked about the partnership stuff, when they start to get employees, how does that work? And they talk about getting that in-house accountant.
Yeah, I was surprised by that coming up as like early employee, not what I was expecting to hear.
That's probably where your first big nut, like it's like you gotta
the books in order.
Yeah, you gotta cut off $60,000 or something for that. Fanta has that. Like in the
that makes a lot of sense.
In the basement,
they got a lot of people they're dishing stuff out to.
It's crazy. Like you got the main floor, and there's a bathroom that's not a bathroom. Like it's got like a wood plank over the tub and just like stacks of books and things. But you can pee, like you just can't be showering and stuff. and it's like the main people on the ground floor. So it's Gary has his office immediately. You go in and to the left, that's Gary's office. And then you go a little further and then to the left, back corner, Eric Reynolds, Jack, and then some of those, like that rotating amount of people that kind of come and go. Except Christy Valenti is in there also. Then you go through the kitchen and they all put their grub in for lunch and stuff in the kitchen, and it's like a well-kept kitchen. And then the back is like the design department, man, with it would have been Keely McCarthy, what's his face, man? Covey would just kind of visit.
Yeah.
2 or 3 other people, and then there would be probably the equivalent would be this dude Justin, who prices stuff out. Is back there. But
Hey, Warren.
Oh, you're not on the air.
We are on the air.
Oh.
Yeah, we're streaming. Yeah, they're going to see you when you come through this threshold.
All right, I'll be right back.
Do you need a hand?
You need some help? Here, I'll help you.
No, I got it.
Let me go make sure everything's good, Jimmy.
Yeah.
But the story ends. All the accountants are in this dusty ass basement.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know what came between those guys. I don't know if it's a public story, and I don't know if it's even anything. Like, I think they just got so busy. But again, it'd be interesting to just keep going through this journey and see how things go, because, you know, like we were talking before we went live this morning, and covering like issues 4 and 5, like there's got to be a sweet spot there. Whether, you know, I don't know if they would have been conscious of it at the time, but as things get busier, like I always say, I've had these stretches where I'm super busy, and I mean, relatively speaking, it's nothing. Like, I don't know how you would ramp that up times 10 or 100 or 1,000 whenever you think about somebody that would have been as busy as those guys.
All kinds of goodies for you.
Yeah. Is this Diamond Box yours?
This one,
That's the concretes, I presume.
concretes. Buck Rogers, amazing. All kinds of shit.
I'm gonna pass this to you, Jimmy, and just put it on the other side of you.
So we're gonna have to take some. I got this.
Should have a pretty fun show today, guys. I blew the spot by yelling out a name.
As opposed to trying to do like all needed for one ep, we do 4 shows, 2.
Well, I'll figure it out. Because, like, we're not reading them. So we should, it's just like a little.
Okay, all right.
Because, like, you know, we don't have those. So we know the crumb strips, we might know the errant, Gilbert Shelton, or the Spain, but it's more, it's a, like, overall.
Okay, all right. I didn't know how deep you wanted to get into them.
Yeah, it's an overall.
All right, and then I've got all kinds of Buck Rogers collections. So that would take some time to set up and figure out we're doing everything else. It's
Cool.
a lot easier.
Cool. I'm gonna go make a fresh tea right quick. Let me get you a water, Warren.
Sorry, say that again?
I'm gonna get you a water real
Yes,
quick.
that would be cool.
Hey, Warren, good to see you, man. How are you?
What's going on?
Been a while.
It's been
Too
a
long.
year. It's been a year.
How have you been?
Well, the reason why I couldn't come is because, you know, you get old and things happen. So I had to get prostate surgery last year.
Oh, no.
And that's why I haven't been here. So, nope, I'm much better.
Good,
Okay.
good. Glad you're here now.
Here's one thing I'm going to tell both of you. Do not ever, ever, ever get a catheter. Just don't do it.
I already had that shit before, man.
Why'd you have... What?
Yeah, I'm going to try to avoid that as long,
I was a
as,
sick
long
boy,
as possible.
and I was awake when they, not when they put it in, but when they pulled it
When
out.
I pulled it out, yeah.
And they say, "Hey, just breathe," and it's not like this. Here, I'll do the on the camera. It's not this, and it's out.
Yeah.
It's this.
Yes, right, yes.
It's like that. You know, it's like 3 tugs,
Oh my God, it was bad.
and it makes your eyes cross.
Oh.
Well, and then some.
Okay, it was pretty brutal.
Man, it's early in the morning for this kind of talk.
Yeah, but it gets you spirit. It gets you, gets the juices flow.
That's right. That's right. It wakes you up if nothing else. God, look at all this fancy. You guys have upgraded. Thank you.
Got some new lights.
Yeah, no, this is great. So what do you want to start with? Something simple? You want to start with the Mad?
We should wait for Tom. Like, it would be great to have Tom, because I told him to read that also. So it
Okay.
would be good to have 4 guys on that. Concrete, maybe?
Yeah, concrete would be fine.
Flash Gordon would be a Tom thing.
Yeah, so why don't we do concrete?
Cool.
And then
And if he's still not here, I say the Undergrounds, because I feel like he has the least connection to that.
okay.
And then those other bits. But he said he should be here at like 8:30. I don't know if he's going to show up in funky Flashman persona and like be like fashionably late. He's in his rock star mode.
All right.
Funky Flash.
There's that box with the concretes.
Yeah, well, it's got a whole bunch of stuff in here, like my banana,
Yes.
which is like really super important. All right, I'm just gonna leave that up there.
I'm excited to talk concrete. It comes up quite a bit with various people.
Well, yeah, it does. And actually, I found that I had 9 of the 10 first issues, and then a bunch of other shit. So you've got a lot of concrete stuff.
The way I see that video going, Warren, is like you were there when that stuff
Yeah.
was out and stuff. So like
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I got these off the stand.
So yeah, there's a conversation about like what set that apart, because we got things like this World's Best Comics anthology that Fanta put out,
right.
and a concrete story is there amongst Linda Berry
Yes,
and
right.
Dan Clowes and stuff. So
Well, and actually, I'm going to quiz you guys. I want to see how good you are.
Mobius, 100 panels.
Well, Mobius is in. Where'd it go?
I think it's the
Birthday.
top one.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. I found a couple of those for $1 not too long ago.
It's a shame, but they printed a lot. So here we got some couple pieces. Anyway, so there's a whole bunch of load of concrete, and then these are the Dark Horse Presents that I got with the concrete stories. Although I don't,
Yeah.
I started later. In fact, this one got me because this was the Flash. Okay. All right, here we go. Arrange them as you see fit. I got this, and then I brought these two. Just let me know what you want for visuals.
Oh, you got your money, man.
This is awesome. This is such a cool presentation of it.
Right, and also they, being who I am, you know, I had to get that when it came out. Okay. So this stuff can go under here.
It's interesting to see like the legend stamp on here when you think of like, maybe a boost at the time, but historically like Legend's such a little blip now.
Yes, right. Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's kind of out kicked its coverage
See,
or something.
This was all the stuff in Dark Horse Presents, and so the first let's say 6 or 7 concrete stories were in here before he was given his own.
Yeah. Dark Horse started off, mild.
And
Yeah, we looked at Dark Horse Presents 1, that had this first story in it.
yeah,
We talked about that briefly. Yeah, it's a fascinating time. One of the few guys that was like seemed to be able to do indie, like take the superhero language and do something a little better with it.
yeah, and it's actually the anti-superhero is what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. And then I wanted to bring to your attention this. Here we go. Here, did you know about this?
Oh no, wow.
Yeah. So we should talk about that.
What is it?
Harlan
Harlan
Ellison,
Ellison wrote a
big letter.
long letter. So he had seen the story previously because he talks about the origin story and how much he hates origin stories, but he really loved this one. Blah blah blah. But he had to have gotten it early to be in the issue.
Yeah, Ellison had a relationship with Dark Horse, man, so I wouldn't put it past Mike Richardson to have those connections, send him Xeroxes. That used to be a thing, like when you would go to the conventions, you would see the next 5 months worth of comics from DC or something. They would just have these packets just Xeroxes with a staple in the top, and I slid a couple into my
Yeah,
my bag
occasionally I
once.
see those in
Alright, so there's
remain,
one,
in
Yeah.
the old bins too.
1 and 2. That's 3. I'm missing 4. This is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You're missing 4.
Yeah, I'm missing 4. Yeah.
I'll take a look at my stuff, man.
But I've
And I'll
got
see if I have one.
I've got these. This one and Eisner. So anyway, I figured this was enough visual concrete stuff, and then
Yeah,
we can,
definitely.
So you can go ahead and arrange any way you want. Is there a chair? Oh,
There's-
right here.
There's a bunch. Now get over here because the mic is right.
Oh, the
here.
mic is there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we all gotta kind of
Okay.
like cheat on this side.
I'm with you. I got you.
And see, this is us. We're being streamed. I'm just keeping up with the chat.
I'm not in the phone.
It's a couple seconds behind. Look, there you
I
are.
see.
See, it's a time paradox that we're in right now.
Oh man, I didn't realize this is really cool being in an alternative time-space continuum.
Yeah. So we are several seconds ahead.
Yeah,
of
right now we're in the future.
the rest of the country and stuff. So play your, do your short trades.
That's right. We've all seen Primer. We know what to do here.
All go long depending on the stock.
When you see Primer, you say primer, right?
Yeah,
That's what I
spell
do.
primer.
Fuck
Yeah.
that primer bullshit.
Yeah.
And also, man, when you're going through a bunch of papers and you read it in novels and it's RIFLE, what is that word?
RIFLE?
Yeah.
Rifle.
Yeah, it's not. When you listen to audiobooks, everybody's riffling.
Oh, interesting.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah.
rifling.
Yeah.
Tell
That
you-
has to be acceptable both ways.
I never hear it rifling. And I've heard it lots of times. That might even be like one of those kind of kink words of Stephen King's or something like that. But like, everybody's riffling in the audiobooks.
No. Okay. I don't buy that one.
Yeah, I think that's punk shit. I think that's like the people that call Danzig's band Sawin when everybody else is like, it's fucking Sam Hain.
Yeah.
Glenn Danzig is from Lodi, New Jersey. Shut the fuck up.
Getting fired up this morning.
So
Let's do it.
All right. So how do you want to sequence this?
Jimmy, you got our pimpage. Put our pimpage out there. And Jimmy will do the intros.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Probably keep the Jimmy cover off the gimmick for this week. Pass me that bitch, man. Or you know what? What'd be fun is just show this part. Just show that part. Little misprint.
By the way, I'm convinced. There's that building over there with all the bricked-in windows.
Yeah. I was just talking about that.
That's where I am convinced. That's where you go ahead and you work out the plots for your.
yeah.
Okay.
It's so funny. I was just talking to Jimmy. I'm like, you know what, man? Doing okay. Like, because I own this joint now.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I got a girl upstairs, who's pays rent on it and stuff. But like, I'm like, I should get that lot because that lot is not part of this.
Oh.
But that is, and it's a 5-unit garage, and the dude has
Oh, okay.
tenants, that have cars and shit there.
Right.
So it's just a real estate dude down the street, and I might just like, what
Yeah,
do you
sure.
want? What do you want for it, man? And like, let me build in those dudes. Like, just pass those leases on to me.
No. Look, you got to break it off.
Uh-huh.
Live Red Room tour. Okay. All right.
I was more thinking like I'll just build the house that I die in over there or something.
No, Red Room tour. Okay. You'd have people lined up like all the way into
Especially for
Pittsburgh.
Halloween.
I was listening to that 7-hour Jim Shooter
Yeah.
thing, and one of the pieces he was talking about was like in the offices, Mark Grunwald like went to Shooter and was like, is it okay if nobody comes into my office for 3 months? And Shooter's like, what do you do? He's like, I'm not gonna tell you, I'm not gonna say anything, but
No, I got it.
but it'll be cool. And Shooter's like, well, where are you going to do work? He's like, I'll figure it out, man. And throughout that 3 months, there's sawing and hammering and all kinds of crazy shit happening. Come Halloween, he erected a whole haunted house with like attractions and shit like that. Because like when they had the office party, like all the kids from all the editors and freelancers and stuff would like go through the thing, and gets scared by Larry Hama, which I don't think would be too hard, man, if he has like
Yeah, right.
like his AK-47s or whatever.
That's great.
But yeah, just one of those office stories from
That's a pretty good one.
yeah.
That's fun.
All right. So
Yeah. Trying to think the best way to introduce that you're here, Warren.
well,
Just
say-
at the top of the show. Do you have anything that we should be plugging for you in the beginning?
No. You know, I'll be coming back during the summer, and I can plug SPX then.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Sounds good. Then we'll do, I'm Jim Rugg. He's Ed Piscor. And you
Yeah.
do that. I'm Warren.
I'm Uncle Warren.
We'll run through this stuff and then we'll dive into concrete.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Good to go, Jimmy?
Yeah, hit it. Hello and welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Jim Rugg.
I'm Ed Piscor.
And I'm Uncle Warren.
First thing I want to remind everybody that we do have a Cartoonist Kayfabe Patreon now with multiple levels that will get you early access to our videos. It'll get you access, depending on your level, to sitting in with us while we stream with special guests like Warren Bernard here. And you can contribute to these conversations as we follow along, as we record. Also, Cartoonist Kayfabe is brought to you by the books that we make. You can see our bibliographies here. I have Hulk, Grand Design, Street Angel, Deadliest Girl Alive, and The Plain Janes available now. Coming in May, Street Angel, Princess of Poverty will be my next book from Image Comics. You can pre-order this now at your local comic shop. Ed Piscor has X-Men Grand Design, WYSIWYG, Hip Hop Family Tree coming up on a 10th anniversary, and a big announcement coming soon from that.
You know what? The omnibus is out. Like it's not out.
Even better.
Yeah. So do some cut and announce the omnibus, because I'm gonna put the announcement video out on Monday. So these come out after that.
Ed Piscor has X-Men Grand Design, WYSIWYG, Hip Hop Family Tree as part of its 10th year celebration will be coming out with an omnibus that you can
Yes.
pre-order now. It'll include all of the Hip Hop Family Tree comic strips, plus a lot of extra art and a 35,000 word essay and notes on the making of and notes behind the historical accuracies and stories in that book.
125 extra pages.
125 extra pages at a bargain omnibus price of $50. You know what those Marvel-sized omnibuses cost. Imagine that book, but at a much better price and much better comics and art. And Red Room is starting up its 3rd season. You can pre-order that one now. We already have Antisocial Network and
Trigger warnings.
And coming this spring, Crypto Killers. You can pre-order the first 2 issues. You can see the standard cover here from Ed Piscor. Another cover for issue number 2, my favorite because of the knife accuracy. Some of the variants this time through, a blank sketch cover that's been requested forever. So pick that one up and scare the hell out of us.
Oh, Jim, the people can't be seeing that
a
right
little
now.
teaser there for my own. So I will also be doing a round of variants as I did with the first 2 volumes.
Peach Momoko's working on hers, man. And without further ado, we got Concrete Under the Microscope.
Yes, I'm so excited to actually dig into this comic today, Paul Chadwick's Concrete. This is one of those black and white books. It starts in 1986 as a title in Dark Horse Presents. So when I start discovering black and white indie comics, Concrete is kind of talked about and revered. Like, this was a
Right.
critically acclaimed book. Dark Horse was on the map before I become a reader. So this was kind of one of their flagship titles from very early
Yes.
on. Appears in the very first issue of Dark Horse Presents.
These old masks might be worth some loot. Like if you have the first appearance of that one.
I don't know. I only go back. I think my earliest Dark Horse is number 14 or something like
Yeah, that
that.
might be it.
You know, as it is with many of the comics back then, because I was working. I got into Concrete like with issue like 2 or 3. Then I went back and got these other things. I always loved this one. I always loved the covers they ripped off from the DC Giants.
Yes.
The Weisinger stories. So Warren, one of the things that makes me interested in going through like a quick Concrete overview with you today is like you were there, you were in
Yeah.
the mix, and Concrete. When I got into the game, all the old heads were like, you need to quit reading Bloodstrike comics.
Yes, right.
Read something good.
Right.
Concrete
Right.
is the good stuff.
Yeah.
And almost by virtue of that, it turned me off to like even giving it a shot. Just that like authoritarian piece where I'm like, fuck you guys if you keep telling me this is good. So this is a little bit of a blank spot. I have been making better on that in my back issue hunts and scooping up
Right.
issues wherever I find them. But explain some of the virtues of Concrete to the layman.
Well, you know, first of all, to show you how much I love this stuff, I still have my comics. Okay. So Concrete, it's really difficult to explain. So I'll go ahead and say this. I was like 31 when it came out. And I'd been, the superhero stuff had left me like a decade before, and I'd been looking for, and I looked at, I really liked, Love and Rockets, Flaming Carrot was coming out around the same time, blah, blah, blah. So I was looking for something different, a little more intellectually stimulating. And this was it, because this was it was so different in terms of the approach. So if you think about the superhero world.
I love that as a layout.
Yeah. And he does great layouts. So if you think of the superhero world, superheroes are basically battling one another.
Yeah.
They have their own personal problems, but their interaction with society it's not there. Okay.
Right.
This was, Concrete was, I'm not giving anything away. So Concrete was originally a guy who was a speechwriter for a senator. He and his friend go up into the mountains. They get abducted by aliens. Both of them get put into these concrete bodies. Concrete escapes. His buddy is left with the aliens, and they came up with a cover story. From NSA was involved about that this was basically an experiment that's gone awry. Okay, and we're not going to do this again. And so Concrete, and here's this guy who was a normal guy, now thrust into this body that does have a certain amount of superhero aspects to it, but he now has to live in the society. There were no superheroes, there were no supervillains. Here was this guy that had to live in modern society. So what does he do? He promotes himself. He wants to, because he's a writer, he wants to take different adventures in the wild to go ahead and type stuff up and make articles. There are
bits like this are always a part of the Concrete lore. Also, he
Yes.
is made of concrete. He is very heavy.
Yes.
So Chadwick never ceases to show you examples of what it must be like for a guy who weighs a couple of tons to move about in this world that we.
You see him again on the plane. Whenever
Yeah.
he's transported around locally, it's like in
Yes.
the back of a pickup
In the
truck.
back of a pickup
All
truck.
very practical.
Seeing
Well-
him trying to sit on chairs it makes me think of Andre the Giant.
Yeah,
stories.
exactly. Especially in an airplane.
Yeah.
Well, and I was rereading these because I hadn't read them in 30 years, and I was rereading them, and it was very interesting. The one, I think it's number 5 or number 6, he goes to help out farmers, and he can't go in the house because he's so heavy. The joist couldn't hold him.
Yeah.
All right. And so now think about this. His sheer weight alienates him from the rest of the.
And there's people who are like that, in this
Right.
world, and they certain graces have. I mean, imagine, you're on the airplane, and then the stewardess comes up to you with that extra seatbelt gimmick.
Right.
Like I've seen that, and I
Yeah,
was right
sure.
next to a guy going to South Korea, and the stewardess comes out and it has that extra, and he just is like, yeah, he
Yeah,
just
sure.
grabs it, like
Well, and also this is taken to an extreme
Sure.
in that case.
it's comics.
So yeah, it's comics. But the
Is that
other
Prince?
the other thing about Concrete was it was very well written, and there was always social commentary in it. So, like I think the second issue, he goes off. His friend, the senator, says, "Hey, a buddy of mine is running for office down in Texas. There was just a mining disaster down there. Can you go down and help?" And things don't work out quite the way
Right.
you want them to. And so there were multiple layers of stories going on here, and there were morality tales that were going on. It was very well written. And so someone who's not into superheroes and is looking for something a lot more substantial, this really went ahead and checked all the boxes. And I collected this, for, let me see, 87, almost probably till the mid-90s or something like that. So I
feel like that's most of it, huh? Like
It's probably
Yeah.
the bulk.
yeah.
now I'm going to quiz you guys. I'm going to see how good you are. All right?
Oh man, and we're on the record. See,
Okay.
Warren is slick. He didn't bring it up beforehand, man. So
I didn't want you to do the research
we
beforehand.
got to have our chops.
So- Did Concrete win any Eisners? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. How many do you think they won?
I like dozens.
A lot, yeah. I think
And
they
if he
won.
did-
I'm
and
going
if
to
he
say
didn't-
6.
I'll say 2 figures.
There we go. This is all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you step back, how many people have won 9?
Well, there's see he's in the sweet spot in
That's
those
right.
90s.
Yeah, the 80s and 90s, there were the multi-winners,
shit.
a lot of them come from that time
Right,
period.
right, right. Yeah,
because
and Frank
it would be
Miller.
Klaus.
Yeah.
Evan Dorkin, I think, has double digits.
It
Yeah.
would be Ware.
Right.
And I don't know about the Eisners, but certainly Harvey's. These guys it would just be the routine.
Mm-hmm.
But also think about who we're also talking about now in terms of who got those Eisners, all right? And so everybody that you just talked about, all of them were comics that were not aimed at 15-year-old kids. They
No.
were aimed
Right.
at 30-year-old adults, okay? And so there was a lot of this going on. So, I read Klaus back then, and Evan Dorkin, and, just all of these people. So, the world has, of course, gotten much more diverse and stuff like that. But they said something that up against that competition, he was able to do this.
It's a nice bunch of wins, too. Like, best new series, best black and white, best writer, artist. Like, there's a variety of stuff that he's pulling in here that are these top notch, because not all Eisners are the same.
Right, yeah, no, I understand that.
But this is a great representation.
Yeah, so, and it shows how revered Chadwick was, and the Concrete, title was at that time, okay? And, as you were saying, people were looking for something different. Mm-hmm. And back in the 80s, all you had as a distribution mechanism was going up to the comic book store. And that was it.
Yeah.
Okay? And, you go up there, and a lot of the comic book stores was all superhero stuff, but there were some Big Planet Comics over in Bethesda, that's who I went to, would have a lot of this alternative stuff because that's what they wanted to specialize in. And, this kind of says it all to me about how well this was all respected at the time.
It'd be fun too for people playing at home. Go back and look at who is part of the who's nominated for these various awards, because it paints a picture of what was coming out. When you talk about alternatives, I think okay, what are those? You mentioned Flaming Carrot. I feel like Nexus was one of those. It's a very short list of these alternatives,
right.
Just outside of that Marvel DC model, but also high level of craft. I was marveling at some of these page layouts.
Yes, yeah. No.
As a spread, this is stunning. Even incorporating the letter from the farmer that needs his help, the lines, the patterns. And Chadwick did some work at Marvel. He drew Dazzler comics of all things.
And he also worked in
storyboarding.
He did storyboarded for the movies. Okay, so and by the way, he did these long essays in the front of every issue, and you could see that he was very well read. Okay, I think it's let me see, where is the this thing? I think it's here in this one, Fragile Creature. That yes, of course I have side thing. I think it's here. He gets into what it was like working in L.A. Okay, and so this was basically a documentary essay about his time spent in the movie business, and then he gets into the old illustrators who influenced him. All right, so he talks a lot about J.C. Call, Vierge, and a couple of other people. And this is really quite. I mean, this essay was a lot of work.
Sure.
Right. And so the person who was doing this was no stupid person. He was very well versed in a whole bunch of different things, and it really showed in the writing and the references. You had to understand what was going on in pop culture at the time, or in politics at the time, to go ahead and get all of this stuff.
It's a great combination of a good writer and a good artist, which also you often don't see that kind of balance. Often, it's, you lean one or the other, or you have a team if you're going to be successful on both sides.
He was the team. Okay.
Right.
I think he even lettered it.
He didn't letter.
No, he didn't letter it.
Bill Spicer, I think, is your letterer.
Yeah.
Bill Spicer. And, here's John Nyberg inking an issue. So, maybe you have people pinch hit a little bit to keep it an ongoing series.
Later in the series. And he complained, he went to 10 issues, and he writes in one of the other essays, I really wanted to keep this up longer, but I felt after the 10 issues I had said, I was at a stopping point, okay?
Yeah.
And then after these first 10 issues, once a year, once every 2 years, you got a 3 or 4 part miniseries. And even those would, they were, I was like, oh my God, a new Concrete, I can't wait. So they were all very well received.
I linger on this cover because I love it. But he does this really neat thing. Like, here he is climbing Everest, So you mentioned, what do you do if you have a superhuman body in our world? Right. And he's doing this stuff to raise awareness of various things that he wants to call attention to and live this adventurous lifestyle, which is almost like... you have creators maybe doing that 100 years before, right? Part of the writing experience was I'm going to go experience something that average people don't, and then I'll write about it.
Well, and that was
felt a little bit like
in England. That was called the Grand Tour, okay, where you would leave England and travel through Europe and go through Asia and come back and write about your experiences. And you mentioned about environment in terms of Concrete. This was very environmental. So, and I'm going to say it right now, they're definitely left of center. Okay, so if your politics don't run towards left of center, this is not for you. But
I'll give a rebuttal on that and say this is a time before politics were as charged as they
Well,
are today,
yes,
and it's
that's right.
much more subtle. So I wouldn't steer people completely away just for that reason. Like I would give it a shot and see, and you might be surprised by the tone of it with the
Right. It is not. It is
precursor
not.
that it's a left of center.
Yes. It is. It is subtle.
Quaint.
Yeah. It is
I
subtle.
feel
It is
now.
quaint. And as you say, the politics back then were nothing like the politics today.
Scripts and Bloods these days.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's on a good day. All right.
One of the nice collections of this was a big oversized, you can see this is collecting these 10 issues, but bigger than a comic.
Right, yes.
Which is really nice, a way to show off
Yes.
a series that's known for strong artwork, and Warren, of course, coming with the best edition of it. But beautiful art. So these are out there. Like you can find Concrete Comics. I think Dark Horse really got behind him.
He became the
from
mascot.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would they could almost replace the Dark Horse logo with Concrete in the late 90s.
And there's
90s.
another one of these, I think, 1990 to 1996. So, and for whatever reason, I know why I didn't pick that up, because my job changed around that time. So there are other things. I would advise people to start with this, read the first 6 or 7 stories, and then get this, and go from the 6 or 7 stories that occurred before issue 1, and go into here, and then you get the flow.
What's really amazing too with Chadwick is you get short stories,
Yes.
you get like single issue length stories, and then he moves on to the more ambitious stuff that are like, I think this was probably a 4-issue
was
miniseries,
4-issue
something like
miniseries,
that. So
right.
he's almost going into that graphic novel realm,
Yes.
which again, it's a skill that often people are good at maybe one of those, but the short story is not something a lot of American creators are great at or spend much time with.
Right, and some of these are only a couple of pages long because they were in Dark Horse Presents, and then of course once he got his own book, he had a lot more to work with. But go ahead and show, yeah. And so here's one. This won an Eisner Award.
Yeah, this will have a its own episode at one point.
Yeah, and you can see some really cool. You get Charles Vess and Mobius involved
with
whenever you're going to do
Chadwick,
something special
and
here.
so that'll go ahead. That says it all about where he was in terms of the comics world to be with Vess and Mobius in this book. So
Laverne Kanzerski doing your colors, a colorist we see a lot with Keith Giffen in the early 90s with some of that like more outlandish
interesting.
Keith Giffen
Okay.
line art style. So, certainly an experienced colorist that you get to then add to a guy known for his black and white art.
yeah. Well, you don't show him the Mobius stuff because you want to do a future.
I'll show him one. I'll show him
yeah.
a piece of it because you got to get a piece. Here's
that
the
the
Charles
Vess?
Vess.
Yes.
And it feels
Unlike-
like probably his buddies that, well, I don't know about Mobius, but Charles Vess probably somebody who's very environmentally interested.
Yes,
and whenever this
exactly.
comes up, happy to add some beautiful pieces.
Right, and there are actually 2 Concrete short stories, and then you get Mobius.
A wordless color Mobius story, and it is like 20 plus pages.
Yes,
like, this
right.
is a great comic to
it's
track
fantastic.
down for a
Yes.
variety of reasons,
Yeah.
including this Mobius standout.
Yeah, if for nothing else, you get it for the Mobius.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
really quite something. But it also that also shows you where Mobius's head was at that time.
Yeah, I wonder if those two knew each other through Hollywood.
You know what?
And working there somewhere.
That's a good question. And then you get let me see, what was the year on this one?
1989.
Okay, yeah. So I think this was the first color Concrete.
Yeah, okay. And this color, Elizabeth Chadwick, so presumably his wife, I would guess.
Yes.
One thing that happens to Concrete and Paul Chadwick, and it's not well represented in this collection that we're showing off, but whenever the Legend group is formed at Dark Horse in the early 90s, Chadwick is one of the guys they bring on. So you've got the Frank Millers and John Byrne and Mike Mignola. They bring Chadwick on as like, this guy deserves to be part of this Legend group.
Yes.
Or who knows, maybe Richardson was like, put him on there. I don't know. But, I remember it because like I was following those other guys, and this was like one more invite to, hey, look at Concrete.
Yes, right. Exactly.
And that's kind of what you want to do if you're a publisher and you're putting together these imprints. Like, a rising tide raises all boats.
Right,
so if you're going to
exactly.
show up for Frank Miller and John Byrne, check out this piece as well.
Yeah.
And I just want to add, you mentioned moving to that miniseries format. That's basically the Hellboy. That's basically the entire Legend imprint is built around those types of miniseries. And I mean, Hellboy continues to this day with that kind of formula.
Yeah, sure.
And Concrete, one of the early examples of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things. Like I said, it's difficult to relate to people what it was like at that time to walk into a comic book store and see and read this. Today you've got so many different, you can pick up graphic novels and all kinds of stuff that are geared more towards people, let's say, above the age of 30. But back then, of course, then again, the comic shops had a lot less stuff, but this really jumped out.
I would also encourage people, if you love Watchmen and Dark Knight and this idea of realistic superheroes.
That's right.
Give
yes.
this a read, because it is a different angle on the realistic superhero.
Exactly.
And it's done by an exceptional craftsman, so you're not trading off anything in terms of the quality of the storytelling or the stories,
right.
But you are getting a different perspective on, what does this look like if some super being actually walked the planet?
And it's kind of a flip, because superheroes, the reality are the superheroes and the supervillains. This is the opposite. The reality is not concrete. The reality is the normal world that he's trying to exist in. So it flipped the whole view of comics at that time on its head.
Last question I have for anybody that wants to field it. Why is this not... I don't feel like this is spoken about much today.
I agree.
I'm surprised there's not an archival project of the complete concrete being issued, the way a lot of these different books are. And it's kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, I don't know, and especially today with the focus on doing graphic novels for adults, I would figure that would be something that'd be pretty simple to do, but I don't understand why that is.
And it is very glaring in its omission, because it had so much juice in the late 80s up to mid 90s.
Yeah.
And it looks better to me than a lot of the stuff that I go back in the 80s and go, okay, this book is known as, being a standout at that time. Some of that stuff ages differently,
yes.
It may have historical significance, but maybe it doesn't hold up as well. To me, man, I flip through this and I go, that's as good looking as about any black and white book that I'm going to pull off the shelf today.
Exactly.
Fantastic inking, and certainly in its black and white iteration, I was thinking about the great black and white comic artists, and I would joke, it's five fingers maybe with a couple left over, but this guy could be added to that whole conversation. For
look
sure,
at this
man.
going underwater where the light isn't.
Yeah.
You get to really see his ability to do black and white.
And this is when he, for those people who don't know, this is when he tries to swim across the Atlantic Ocean, and things go wrong.
Yeah, we're gonna look at that with BKV one day.
Yeah, layouts, just a very innovative guy. So.
Listen, guys, I'm sold. Okay, I'm
Yes.
sold. I'll read it further. If you're good to go, I'm good to go.
Yep.
Kayfabers, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell, we'll notify you when new vids are available, and we have a Patreon. Depending on your level of support, you're watching us stream this video live, which completely mitigates the Kayfabe effect. You might even be getting all the videos delivered to you before anybody else, kind of also keeping the Kayfabe effect off your shoulders. But the videos are brought to you by the books that we make, and it's a big 2023 for Jimmy and I. The Hip Hop Family Tree Omnibus is available for pre-order in my link tree. 2 volumes of Red Room are out there right now in trade paperback form, and Crypto Killers issue 1 and 2 are being solicited by your local comic shops right now. 3 issues of X-Men Grand Design, 3 volumes of that. The occasional WYSIWYG. Jimmy, what do you have?
Hulk Grand Design, Street Angel Deadliest Girl Alive, and The Plain Janes are all available now wherever you buy books. Street Angel Princess of Poverty is coming out in May from Image Comics. You can pre-order that one now at your local comic shop to complete your Street Angel set. And you can join me on patreon.com/JimRugg to see lots more of my art and comics and download out-of-print zines and mini comics there.
Warren, do you got a big plug you want to give before we get the heck out of here?
Nope, not yet.
All
Later
right,
this
then.
year.
All right, summertime?
Summertime. I'll be back in the summer.
Jimmy, what else do we have out there that people could support?
Subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe newsletter at the links below this video. You can also find Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts, merchandise, hats, fanny packs, stickers, and lots more at our spread shop. That link is also under this video.
Before we get out of here, man, you know what you have to do, dude. Give them those marching orders.
Read more comics.
Are you concerned about the battery? It obviously no percentage stuff came up, but it is red right there.
That's weird. I wonder if that battery is on here.
Oh, okay.
We can plug that in. I have the...
Yeah, let's do that.
Let me grab
it. Yeah, good call. What's up,
I
Tom?
think the
Hey, how's it
fellas...
Good seeing you, man.
What's up, Warren? Good to see you.
If I was in the neighborhood, figured I'd stop by.
No, awesome. Concrete is an interesting choice. He was like the face of independent comics for a good little while.
Yeah. Well, and rightfully so.
He did get lost in the sauce.
Yeah, which is most unfortunate because of the. Well, I loved his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, people should know just because I loved his stuff, but you get where I'm coming from.
Hey, listen, man.
it's one of those ones that does not feel like it's nostalgic,
rose-colored glasses or whatever.
Because it was the people at the time that were pushing it, really. We should do Mad because we could keep the camera angle the same.
Yep.
So, we're gonna do what? Mad next?
Let's do Mad because then we got to change the whole camera setup and things for the big books.
Yeah, but then we should do Blimpworks next.
Cool.
After that, and
Great.
then because the one after that
Is even bigger.
These big Sunday pages. So.
Yeah. Very exciting. Yeah, Jimmy. So like, I'm gonna push the omnibus, and you could just say 125 pages of extras. The price isn't 100% nailed down, but probably. So
Gotcha.
I want to leave that off.
There we go. There it is.
Nice.
Should we put our dicks on the table? Like, should I go?
You
Should,
have
should I go get all of them? We had kind of all the comics as the backdrop.
Well, you have all of the original comics like that.
Oh, you're fucking with me now. Yeah. Issue 1 through about 550.
Oh, I didn't realize you.
I traded a page of X-Men art for it
Oh, very cool.
to a dude in Hawaii, man. And then 2 days after I got back home, there was 15 USPS priority mailboxes at the crib.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, because the Mad comics are, to me, just fabulous.
You know what I was thinking, and maybe we'll do it next time you come, because like Jimmy and I, we did these episodes. We did one episode. I'd like to do more, where we called it cover to cover, where we take like a year's worth, like 12 issues or 10
Okay.
issues, because they would skip
Yeah.
a month here and there, and then kind of just do a quick breeze through of like the pop culture climate of the day, and like with you, we would choose something more to your era that you could like tell us who the fuck is this.
Yeah. Right. Sure. Yeah.
Like there's that one great cover. It's like a double page spread, and it's all corporate icons like
okay.
Snap Crackle Pop type shit. And those are like the ones that I know, but then there will probably be some weird.
Yeah. Sure.
That would be a great one too.
And that sounds great because I was buying Mad, okay, in the 60s into the early 70s myself.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be your era, like the 60s, 70s, or would you know like some of the earlier pop culture stuff?
Oh, I would know some of the early pop culture stuff too,
Yeah.
but in terms of when I was buying.
This one has some shit in there. This is like primo, like Kurtzman. I don't know
Well-
what the fuck you're telling me, man. Like, am I supposed to laugh here? Like I just know that there are references that I don't know about.
Well, and
Is that fair, Jimmy? Like, would you read this thing?
Oh, yeah,
and go,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know where I'm supposed to
Absolutely.
laugh.
well,
Certainly on the first story, the big story.
yeah, right. Certainly the big story, but
And is this the upside down joke?
Yeah.
right.
It's so good.
yeah, exactly. And so there were so many things about this issue that it was one of the ones I had to have. Like as much as my collecting is very different, I don't have to have. I'm not a completist. Okay, it's like, oh, this is a great issue. So I got this one because of that.
Should we save this for the cam?
Oh, yeah.
We're not the only audience here, Warren. I'm sorry. All right. Tom, what do you want plugged here in the beginning?
I am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, and
Oh,
the Total
cool.
Recall Show YouTube channel.
What are your YouTube channel?
Mhm,
So-
yeah.
Okay.
Did you lock in that?
Yeah, let's do that. Where's the square? Damn. Boom. You want to open it up, Jimmy? And lock it? It's probably more important to have the words from the comic. And I lost the square again. Okay. Cool.
Right.
So Jimmy will give the plugs and things.
Yeah, sure.
Just quicker. Good to go, Jim?
Yeah, hit it. Hello and welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Jim Rugg.
I'm Ed Piscor.
I'm Tom Scioli.
And I'm Uncle Warren.
Before we dive into today's video, I want to remind everyone that we have a Cartoonist Kayfabe Patreon now. 3 different levels out there to suit whatever your fandom levels are. You'll get access to our videos early, beat the Kayfabe effect with that. And at a King Kayfaber level, you'll actually get to sit in on our recording sessions and give us some feedback and input as we prepare for some of the special guests that we've had over the last several months and moving forward. We are also presented to you by the books that we make. You can see our bibliographies here. I have Hulk Grand Design, Street Angel, Deadliest Girl Alive, and The Plain Jane's available now. Coming in May from Image Comics is Street Angel, Princess of Poverty. You can pre-order that one now wherever you buy our books. Ed Piscor has 2 volumes of Red Room already available. 3rd volume is coming out and ready for pre-order 2 issues up for that. That is Crypto Killers. You can see a little preview here of those covers. Issue number 1, including a variant sketch cover for all you psychos out there that want to draw your own.
Oh, Jimmy,
Nightmare
get that
scenes.
one off
Whoa,
there.
whoa, yeah. And there's your preview for Red Room Crypto Killers number 2. The other big announcement from Ed Piskor this year is Hip Hop Family Tree Omnibus, coming out in time for the holidays, but time to start pre-ordering that one now. Over 120 extra pages in that volume. It'll be the size of the Marvel omnibuses, so a perfect gift book or a perfect time to jump into Hip Hop Family Tree if you haven't done so already. Tom's latest book, I Am Stan, the graphic biography of Stan Lee, a masterpiece. I'm excited. I've gotten to read that one ahead of time, and it's brilliant. That is available for pre-order now from Tom Scioli, a perfect pairing with his Jack Kirby biography, and you can catch him on YouTube on his show, The Total Recall Show. With all of that said, we are going to be looking at Mad number 17. At this point, Harvey Kurtzman and company are in complete control of their powers.
Yes.
And we start that out, obviously, here on the cover.
Read it out loud.
Attention, this issue is going to change your whole viewpoint of Mad. And sure enough, once you open it, it definitely does that. So really fun. These Mad comics that Kurtzman run, often he was doing amazing things on from the cover in, you know, playing with formal stuff without compromising any of the quality or the humor or anything, and really just it feels like having an innovative blast.
You can watch the growth. Like we're going to end up doing all of the Kurtzman Mads, because to me that's canon.
Yeah, sure.
In American comics, and you hear references from Alan Moore using the Harvey Kurtzman playbook for Watchmen and things, and we could show the exact examples of what Moore is talking about. But when you look through all of them, you see how the buying temperature gets high. Like Kurtzman couldn't try this on issue 2 because Gaines would be like, pump the brakes, son.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
But when those numbers start coming in, and listen, Gaines was also editor of like all the other books along with Feldstein, and this one starts creeping up in terms of sales on all of them. He's got to let the guy do his thing.
I don't know if Kurtzman even is thinking this way by issue 2. You know what I mean? Because he starts figuring out, like, we're deconstructing comics and we're playing with the form in all these ways, and your brain goes into that space where now, like, your brain's thinking that way. And I feel like, I bet you this is one of those ideas that wasn't even there yet, in those first couple issues.
The cover
but as time goes on.
Yeah. And one thing I want to point out, this is November 1954, so it came out like August, September, somewhere in there. And by this point, the Comics Code was already starting to get deployed. Mm-hmm. And this doesn't have a Comics Code on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it will be like 5 issues from here or so when it pivots and changes to magazine format.
And one other thing, so yes, when looking at it this way, this is one of his spoofs, but think about you're reading this like on the subway.
Totally.
Okay.
Genius.
All right. And so, you're basically go ahead and flip it over. So the reality is this is what people are seeing.
Yes.
Okay. From
yeah, you can do this because this is what we get the negative feedback of how dare they handle those comics like that.
It's a comic book. Come on, people. Okay. And so anyway.
Now, something that occurs to me here, I wonder if Spiegelman got the idea for the name for Raw from the idea of turning Mad upside down, because you turn the Mad logo upside down, it kind of looks like Raw.
That's really funny.
Right, sure. Yeah.
I was going to say even it's almost double entendre, because you're not just flipping this like literally you're turning it upside down, but also it's almost that deconstruction of comics where like we're changing the way you even think about what this form is.
That's right.
And it's all indicative in this issue. I mean, we're starting to get photo play and things like that in here. This is the hallmark piece right here, and this will not be the only time we look at this particular story, because we have that Mad artist edition with the scans of the original artwork.
Right. Now, and I would argue with you as to whether or not this is the hallmark piece.
For this issue?
For this issue, yes.
Okay,
Excellent.
okay.
We'll get into it later.
A fight.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I will have my reasons for saying that. Don't get me wrong, this is great.
Yeah, and I'm talking specifically formal comics play.
Yeah, so you see here, Bill Elder is our artist here on page 1 of Bringing Back Father.
And up to 16 issues up to this point, very traditional.
Yes.
Elder will draw this story, Wally Wood will draw that story, John Severin will draw this story, and then you could have Russ Heath, or Cartoonist X draws the fourth one.
Well, and I want to show you. So look at the way he signed it. All right.
Just
so
like
this is very indicative. So George McManus started Bringing Up Father circa 1919 or something like that. Great illustrator, great cartoonist. Okay, very dense panels that he had when he really wanted to get into, especially on the Sunday pages, and he was an expert letterer. Okay, I mean he could letter like you wouldn't believe, and so this is basically playing off how McManus would letter things or sign things. Okay?
Sure. Yeah, which they would they would parody everything, and I feel like there might even be some shots called at Harold Gray right here because that is how Homeboy was drawn with
That's
the
right.
blank eyeballs, and then probably a little later comes Little Orphan Annie.
Well, and we should describe this. So Daddy Warbucks, for those people that don't know about Little Orphan Annie, Daddy Warbucks was basically the ward of Little Orphan Annie. And so this is why for the 10th time I'm not your Daddy Warbucks. Okay, and it says, but your eyes are round, white, blinked out circles, just like my Daddy Warbucks. Okay, so, that's a very explicit thing to point out.
And the idea of this strip is, when you really think about some of the things that we look at in terms of slapstick and what we're laughing at, if you think about it literally, it's not that funny. And there's the old, it might have been Groucho or somebody, maybe the Three Stooges that talked about slapstick. They would talk about it on Stern a lot, where it's like, to sprain an ankle is funny, but to break an ankle is not funny.
Yeah, but okay, so this is where historical perspective has to come into play, all right? Yes, from here in the third decade of the 21st century, those kinds of things don't seem funny. But to the people...
And it is funny to me, by the way.
Yeah, well, I agree with you on that. So, but to the people in 1954, the people would have understood a lot of this because Bring Up Father was still in the newspapers, although McManus had passed away by that point. So and so to give everybody some background, Bringing Up Father was all about Jiggs and his wife Maggie and his daughter. There's the wife, there's the daughter. Jiggs was basically a blue collar guy who found himself into a lot of money, and his wife wanted to be the climber. He just wanted to go out and drink with his beer drinking guys over at Dinty's Bar and Grill. And Dinty's Stew was named for the Bringing Up Father.
Did not know that.
That happens so much, man.
Yeah.
Like that, it just explains like how popular the strips were.
The amazingly
Dagwood
popular.
sandwiches,
Right,
just
exactly.
like all sorts of pop culture stuff comes from the comic strips.
I'll add this, and it doesn't really help this issue in any way, but Bringing Up Father, one of those American strips that goes to Japan early on, and is
Oh, yeah,
often
that's right,
cited
yeah.
in like manga and these different places as
interesting.
being influential in the development of certain some of the comics stuff in Japan. So
All right,
a
and-
hugely influential piece. The other thing that I always think of with this strip is like Honeymooners.
Yes,
where
right,
like, you
yes,
kind of
yeah.
have that threat of I hate to say domestic violence, but
Well,
but
it
a
is.
pretty belligerent
Bang
back
zoom
and
to
forth.
the moon. Like, I mean, he's saying he's going to paste her one.
Yeah, but that's where a lot of people lose it, is that they say, oh, well, it's hostile and stuff like that. It says, no, you don't understand. He would never ever do that. Okay,
Right.
and she knows he would never ever do that. Here, it's also reversed. So because he liked to go out and party and get with his buddies and do whatever, his wife was always, you worm, I'm going to throw this. And so what we have here is the comics view of what's going on, and then we bring in Bernie Krigstein.
Yeah.
To give us the realistic interpretation.
Right, exactly.
So smack him with the plates. Now let's see what that looks like. And we are just going to see... Krigstein, first off, perfect guy for this,
Oh,
right?
man,
Yes.
couldn't do better.
Perfect. And he really plays it up. He does his best, almost Ghastly Graham Ingalls of the thing with these like black pulls around the eyes. He looks like a bloated drunkard.
Yes.
Yes, right. Well, and that's really what he is.
Yeah.
Even with the use of the duo or the screen tones to like even add shadows, like this is a dark world.
Yes.
The reality of this funny situation is really dark.
It's like Miller. It's like Dark Knight Returns or something.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
it's the Master Race guy
Right.
doing his interpretation.
It's one more of those, for as small as Krigstein's contribution, a couple pages in the story, it's a significant piece of a giant who just doesn't have that large page count under his belt, and yet hugely influential Krigstein.
And isn't this like the blueprint for 80s superhero comics, where you just take this cartoony language and try to
Yes,
push
exactly.
it to
That's
It's
a good call.
amazing to think of that when we
Yeah.
think of Alan Moore being influenced
Yeah.
by Kurtzman, and then this story in particular with revisionist superheroes. Wow.
Yeah.
This is like one of the Kurtzman tropes. Every video is somebody's first video, Jimmy, so you might just want to go back and just kind of show that Kurtzman will take like an isolated panel and do callback humor.
Yes, repetition.
Yeah.
Which we would see more pick that stuff up, and a lot of other cartoonists that came
Totally.
through this.
Right. And, you look at this, and there is no sunlight in here. It's all in the darkness. It's all domestic violence flipped on its head, because normally, especially in this time, men were beating their wives.
Listen, man, you don't get the dinner on the table. You're catching a fair one back in those days.
So graphic too, like seeing the impact of some of these things.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
And he's
this
got-
one of the rolling pin, the traditional rolling pin.
And
Okay.
and he's got color on the head right there.
That's
you know,
right.
he's got the crimson mask starting to happen from getting split open.
And look at this. He's missing teeth. Look, a tooth knocked out. Okay, all this stuff. And so this is also a commentary on domestic violence at that same time, flipping it on its head to show the brutality of the whole
and
thing.
in '54, like the culture's probably just starting to talk about that a little bit more. Like going to psychologists is getting to be less and less stigmatized.
And this is
as the
coming
years go
out.
by.
This is coming out simultaneously with the rest of the EC line, where they are very directly addressing like serious, societal problems.
Right.
Do you guys know any backstory of how Kurtzman or whomever decided like we'll have two artists do this? Like it's so unusual of a choice. It makes me wonder if did they start with just one and then decide like it's not quite there. Like the way to get there is to have two different artists do it.
And that's the thing too, because like Bill Elder is a fantastic mimic. That's like one of the things you discover when you go through the Mads and you see Elder play with a bunch of different styles and tropes and things. But there's always a little cuteness to it. Robert Crumb calls it the cuteness curse that he learned from doing American greeting cards and things. And Elder has a little cuteness. His most grisly like war books with John Severin.
Yeah.
Are still have too much polish. Like you need something like this. Like that's what I was thinking. Like of course, Kriegstein's a great choice, but Ingalls could have been plugged in here also.
Yes, right.
Editing and delegating are like skills too that you get better and better at. And Kurtzman is like getting better and better at that, and so he's starting to sort of play the artists like instruments themselves.
Always has, yeah, for sure. Always has.
Yeah,
Always
it's not
made
too
the
far
perfect
from
strip.
just having 3 or 4 stories in any single issue and figuring out like the different artists that are great at these stories. So it's not that big of a stretch, but it's still a little bit of a formal innovation that we might take for granted. But I don't know anybody else who was doing something like that at the time, like pretty genius. I was lingering here to show this panel, and then Ed, you had mentioned the callbacks, and I feel like now we're seeing that panel, but interpreted in the in the harsher reality world.
Right, but I want to point out a couple of things before I get back to this panel. One is this is the logo from Puck Magazine.
Okay.
Okay, and then notice up here, instead of beware of dog, beware of wife. Now, in terms of this, when you read the story, here on the cartoon side, Maggie was throwing the dishes, but here, it's Jiggs.
Yeah, so now we're getting real.
Right. There. How do you like to feel the spinning dish cracked against the skull that everyone thinks is so funny? How do you like the real effect of being of the club fist on the nose, which is treated so comically in the papers? And so, here is this, real statement on what was going on
Here's
with
another
domestic violence.
Yeah, and you know what, this is great because here's another context piece, and we'll get into it. In the rest, we're doing Joe McCarthy and things. But
Yes, that's right.
you mentioned the comics code.
Yeah.
And when the Senate subcommittee hearings are happening, the newspaper guys are trying to protect their sort of territory in such a major way and pushing away from the comic books. We are more sophisticated. Walt Kelly talking about like
Milton Caniff,
if I bumped into a comic book man, I'd slug him in the jaw for putting out that kind of dreck. Even into the 50s, like it would persist with you would see those Peanuts cartoons with Charlie Brown looking at the rack, and the comics are all blood, gore, blah, blah, blah. So this is Kurtzman saying, "Listen, motherfuckers, you guys ain't Sterling.
Right.
You guys aren't that clean, man. You guys do your fair share of bullshit."
Right, and consider all the racism in the Caniff strips. You can, there's a whole bunch of things. So you're right, okay, that this is also a reverse commentary on some of that testimony, and this was probably written. So if this was November issue, the comic book hearings were April of this same year. So I bet that this was conceived between the end of the comic book hearings in April and sometime over the summer. This was all put together in response to exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, imagine the conversations happening in those EC offices. Bill Gaines famously didn't do well at those trials.
Oh, no.
And then that comics code is almost designed for anti-EC comics.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
it really
right.
is like everybody's against them. And I bet there was a tense office setting there all summer.
Right.
I got to note, we always mention Marie Severin's colors, but they're so strong. Like turning this page, it's such a, you can really see somebody in control of their power.
Well, and also, I want to point out this yellow. This yellow was very prevalent in the comic strips at the time, and it dates all the way back to the Yellow Kid. It helped give the page that pop.
And we look at old strips with you, Warren, and you show the original Sundays and things, and something about that yellow ink, it doesn't get victimized by ultraviolet light.
Right.
So that is like the ink that still pops as
Yes.
as bright as it ever did in 1899 or whatever.
I got to point out too, I love Kriegstein graphically, and you see these like square screens that he's cutting and just putting on, and it's not like he can't handle screens, because you can see he's cutting out perfect plate screens here.
Yeah. It's
This
the
is
style of the era.
a choice on his part, a graphic choice, and
Yes.
I love it, because not too many cartoonists are pulling graphically from the places he is coming from.
Yeah, but what's interesting is like the UPA cartoons and stuff would be happening at this time, and that's when you would get a tree that's like
Very
a
modern.
triangle
Yes.
sponge of green with like a brown stick and stuff. So like that's definitely indicative of all the other illustration that's happening in the culture at the time, aside from comics.
Right.
He's bringing all of that elegance into his comics work, and I do also have to note that Elder's getting less pay this issue, and Kriegstein's getting a little extra. So I wonder if it potentially could also be a function of Elder pulling some other work or something. But like the economic realities of this is that to have a guy do half the strip means you're getting half the pay. So
Right.
I've never read anything as to how this particular story came about. I've not seen anything in any of the interviews.
there is that one Wally Wood story where the whole page is white when the comic strip gets destroyed. This like they're falling through panels and stuff. And I always wondered, like, did Wally Wood get paid for that, or was that a Bill Gaines maneuver? I will say that in X-Men Grand Design, I got an extra page in an issue, and it's a whole white page, and it just is lettering says Blink, and I got the full rate for that.
Nice.
Oh, cool. And then let's see how this ends. So all of his guys come over. However, the more serious moments I've been having lately, the thought struck me: with money I could buy protection against this thought struck me. I could buy bodyguards. The thought struck me. I could struck Mags with a little help, and then and he hires his henchmen.
Such a dark ending.
Yeah, exactly.
Putting a hit out essentially
Right,
on
exactly.
his life.
Yeah.
And bringing Kriegstein in to finish up. Now you've got both artists on the same page.
And by the way, I want to point out this panel here. This is very, very reminiscent of what McManus would do. He would always have one or two, well, not always, a lot of the Sundays would have these one or two really dense panels with a lot of stuff, a lot of people going on. It doesn't matter, okay? And so this is, basically an homage to the complexity of what McManus was drawing in the Sunday strips.
Yeah, I have so much of that stuff. We've been sent collections, and just from my own, I'll go to Ides when the big sale's going on, and they'll always have cool reprints and stuff. They're so dense. They really are meant to be like read one a day.
Well, yes, yeah,
It doesn't work as
When
a
I
whole.
found Copacetic Comics, Bill had a new collection of McManus, Bringing Up Father, and that was one of the things he pushed on me. One of the first books I bought from him, that he was hand selling, is like, this is finally, I've got this in print, and he was happy to spread that around.
Now, was this a large color reproduction, or were these black and white?
It was a color reproduction. It was really nice. That was part of the sales pitch that he was giving. Was
Okay.
like, finally, this really nice collection.
All right, now we get to my
Yeah.
okay.
This is the perfect issue to cover with you.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to give everybody some background. So literally at the same time of the comic book hearings were the Army McCarthy hearings.
Yes.
And basically what happened was that Joe McCarthy, the famous red baiter, who would go around saying, there are communists everywhere. We're going to bring them in front of Congress. We're going to, throw them in jail. We're going to do all kinds of shit. And so what happened was Roy Cohn, who was the lawyer assigned to McCarthy, okay? And this is the same Roy Cohn who took a young Donald Trump under his wing to teach him all of the bad shit about what to do in New York City.
Yeah, all the gray areas that you
Exactly.
won't get in trouble with.
Okay, and so, right there was like strike one, for those people who didn't know about Trump's early thing. So Roy Cohn was a homosexual, all right? And there was a private by the name of David Shine who'd gotten drafted, and they wanted to get him some preferential treatment, and the Army was like, no fucking way, all right? And McCarthy had already gone ahead and called and said, okay, then here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and have hearings on communists in the Army. and this was the beginning of the downfall of Joseph McCarthy. Okay?
So with this private, like, are you saying that that's like Roy Cohn's friend or something? Like what gets him special? Why? Who cares about special treatment for this guy? Like, what makes him special?
Well, this is what I was saying, was that Roy Cohn asked the Army to give this guy some special.
I see.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
This guy's name. So let's turn this, okay? So we turn this and we go, "What's my shine?" All right, and the guy's name who in question was Shine, Schine.
I see. So like the conceit of this strip is like, let's make those television Senate subcommittee hearings like a TV event. So let's make them a little bit more exciting. And that's the general.
That's
thing.
right.
But yeah,
and What's My Shine? So there was a game show at the time called What's My Line.
Yeah.
And you would come on, and there'd be something about you, like one of the famous ones was. He was the last living person who witnessed Lincoln's assassination.
Jesus Christ!
And so this panel of 3 people would have to guess what this guy was
amazing.
Famous for. Okay, so that's what they're doing is they're layering this very popular TV show on top of this very political thing.
Amazing.
Now, think about this, okay? They've already gone through the Senate subcommittee hearings, the juvenile delinquency hearings on comics, okay? The comics code is out there, and they still print this. Okay,
Right.
and
it's balls.
Right, it's scorched earth kind of
it's
stuff.
a scorched earth. Overt political statement, and this was after they did Jack Davis's "Are You a Commie Dupe?" Okay, the ad that ran in a couple of the comics. So this to me is significant because this is an overt political statement being done in the middle of a time where they've already been clobbered.
Sure.
Because of the stuff that they've been doing.
And let's talk about other pop culture too. You know, the Hollywood 10 or whatever.
The Hollywood
right?
10
like that had to be around this period.
It's about 6 years before.
So it is established that if you call attention to the ridiculousness of this,
That's right.
they might point their laser beams on you. So they're really taking a chance here.
Oh yeah, no, and they're basically parodying. They're going after McCarthy in his own way, and you'll see later on in the story. Now, I do want to point out that they do go ahead and parody different people who were actually part of the committee. So this is Senator Everett Dirksen. This is Senator John McClellan, Stuart Symington, and of course Lana Cheesecake. They threw that in to have the cheesecake in there. Okay, so. Anyway, and here's McCarthy, and there's Roy Cohn. So that everybody knows. So people who were reading this, and you gotta understand, the people reading Mad at that time were very politically involved.
Right.
Okay, and so they would know everybody.
Yeah, it's monoculture, man. So you got probably less than 3 channels because one of them will be fuzzy. Surely you got some radio if you could get some signal.
Right.
Like, so you're all looking at the same stuff.
Right, and so
this is so genius. I can't wait for the payoff on that one.
Yeah, so and McCarthy, and this is going after McCarthy, all right, which at the time was not something that a lot of people did. He basically saying, okay, so he's basically saying that even Stephen is a redskin, and it shows the senator here with a war bonnet and a bloody hat and a bloody axe, okay, and basically saying, "Oh my God, Mr. McCarthy, okay, this sensational piece of evidence leading me to conclude there is one thing to do at this point, this dramatic high point in our program where our televiewers are undoubtedly glued to their sets as never before. That one thing is go to commercial."
Right. Okay? Yeah. Listen, TV is nothing if not for it's built to sell you soap.
And the faux commercials are always great, like Pow.
Yeah, sure.
This coffee brand that they're promoting everywhere in the station. Also going back to comics, it's such a perfect piece in that regard. Like everything fits together flawlessly.
Calling attention to reality TV of the future here with like televised environment.
That's what I thought too, and especially
Yes.
with the trials, like high-profile celebrity trials.
There's our payoff, man. It was a doctored, cropped photo.
Well, and think about how that's done now today with deep fakes, okay? So that they go through this whole thing, and McCarthy gets upset, and he's like, "Okay, the bottom line is this is mano a mano. We're just going to wrestle this out," and the whole thing descends into violence. And this was the CBS logo.
Sure.
That was broadcast on television. This was a special feature, and you can see all of the typical superhero bop, bam, biff, all of that stuff. So, to undertake this, and by the way, again, as it was with Are You a Commie Dupe, this is Jack Davis.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and he does this brilliant job with this, and there's no color, so it's all shades of gray.
Yeah, it's
Like a
duotone.
black and white TV.
Yeah, it's a black
Yeah.
and white TV.
Page after page of black and white in a color comic.
And
book.
color comic book, right? And so you think about that. I don't think there was another up until it went to a magazine. I don't think there was another full black and white.
Right, yeah, there's the Howdy Doody, but they would incorporate some
Right.
color. But once again, it was for the function of the story being told. It was a TV show.
It was TV show, right? But this is the only one that was all black and white from start to
Yeah.
finish. Okay, in the whole run of the Mad Comics.
Another formal play.
Yes, exactly.
Using the medium of comics to its best effect for the narratives that are being told.
And so this is two reasons, okay? Because and I agree with your view of the bringing up father story, okay?
No, it's great.
Between Elder and Kriegstein, there's just so much there. Then this one. And then there's another surprise in this issue for that unless you have the issue, you don't know.
We're going to be talking about Nepo babies.
Right.
Bill Gaines, a famous one.
Yes. And here's another parody. So there was a beer called Rheingold, and every year they had a Miss Rheingold contest to see who would be Miss Rheingold. And so this was there. And by the way, you know who else parodied Rheingold beer was Will Eisner in The Spirit. There was an entire Spirit section that is his parody of Miss Rheingold. So one day we should do them like side by side.
That'd be fun.
Okay, I totally forgot about that. And
Great lettering by Ben Oda, presumably, man. You're seeing a lot of different fonts at play here, man. He's doing a serif typeset font. You got the kind of signage lettering
yeah, sure.
being done right there.
And even the photo setup, which we'd see Kurtzman do throughout his career,
Yeah.
tons of photo
the Fumetti
art
stuff
directing.
that
Yeah, like that might be Gaines and Feldstein.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out. Yeah,
I don't know who that is,
Yeah,
but I think that might be Gaines.
Well, and also look, they even they got Miss Potcold things,
Yeah.
put
could
on a beer
almost,
can.
could almost see the Sharpie
Yeah,
to
exactly.
make the orange or something.
So here's the third reason that everyone should have a
Yeah,
copy
the-
of this.
The comic that launched 1,000 ships kind of thing, Think about
Unbelievable.
the influence of this.
And so here are the entries to the Miss Potgold contest by the one and only Basil Wolverton. And you put these three things together, and this is why this issue, to me, is one of the great issues.
Yeah, you know what? Like we're gonna have to, when we do Mads, like, we're just gonna have you with us, man, because you really supply great context, and me and Jimmy are just kind of having conjecture and the limited knowledge that we have of the era. But you're such a big help. So keep focus on
Yeah.
Philohedron right there, man.
Wait a minute. It says,
Last
who
name
just
Potterwood.
happens to be gorgeous niece of Mr. Melvin Potgold, owner of Potgold Beer, okay? Oh, gee.
Stacking the deck a bit.
But this is primo Wolverton.
absolutely.
yeah.
This is just,
And that that's his function. Like he, he's a drawer, and he did good comics. He did great comics, but Kurtzman just wanted him to go off. Like commissioned him to just draw some funky ass faces, man. And those are reprinted in the Mad Artist Edition, and I think each of these bitches is extremely
really?
big and really reduced in a big way. They're not all drawn on the same piece of paper. They're their own
Yeah.
independent piece of paper.
Yeah.
He supplied his own paper because, like, we've seen some originals, man, and it has that stamp, the Strathmore 500 stamp. So he's using the best paper to do his illustrations and stuff.
and all of this is brilliant. And also, just imagine being there in 1954, and you go, okay, standard comic stuff, and all of a sudden this.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well, some of these are like obscene.
Yeah, right.
Like you think about it, for Wortham and stuff. They're like, oh, you can kind of see some sex organs in the shading on Batman's shoulder.
Yeah,
and
look
then
at
you got
this.
this stuff.
That one right there.
And you know what? I will say, of all of them, she is.
Well, she's the most conventionally,
Yeah, right.
but
Yeah, it's amazing. It really feels like, again, this is such a high level. Like they've
Yes.
just figured out everything that they can do with Mad
Right.
is on display here.
Yes, absolutely. And here, everyone has consumed all the Potgold
Yes.
beers, and they're all drunk, and all the cigarette smoke in the air
Amazing.
and everything. And here you can get to vote.
This page right here is fantastic, man. This is the era. We're now 17 issues into the comic. So many copycats
Right,
are out there,
exactly.
including an EC copycat
Yes.
that they that was known as the Also Ran. It promoted itself as the Also Ran
Yeah.
to Mad, which is Panic, and this strip is parodied by Ralph Reese in the back cover of Bijou 8, the great one where Kurtzman
Yes.
does the front cover.
Oh, okay.
In the style of Mad,
Yeah.
and all the underground artists swap strips, so you're getting Jay Lynch, Fabulous
Yes.
Furry Freak Brothers and stuff.
Anyone at home unfamiliar, we do have a video on that issue.
It's one of our earliest show and tells, man. It's one of my favorite underground comic, but he does his own version of this, and it's all the anthology titles of underground comics. So it'll be blah 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 blah, Bijou, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
God knows, and with all the iconic logos of those various.
And this being done by the great Wally Wood.
Yeah, and Ralph Reese was a apprentice assistant of
yeah.
Wally Wood.
It's such a great. I love this one.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
good.
Would say, and so I, your mad writer, hereby announce that there is no more material left, and that's why I'm going mad. Well, and it's also great because it's also acknowledging all of these other titles that had come out at that time that was like, oh my God, everyone's got to jump on the Mad bandwagon.
Yeah, and it's ballsy too, cause you're basically saying like, yeah, we'll give them a little shine, but like you know what the authentic is.
And then, I think it was in 1954, the Marlon Brando version of Julius Caesar came out. And so this is them going after Marlon Brando and I'm trying to think who else was in that. Anyway, so the movie had just come out, so this was a very appropriate.
Kurtzman was very harsh on flicks. In Mad,
Yes.
he expressed a lot of that. You know, there would be strips where it's like, here's the book version, here's the movie version.
Yeah, yeah.
He was very, very harsh. I do not think he was much of a film buff. And he would always talk about like the violence of the things.
Right, and here they, back, of course, in the story, it was a knife from Brutus, all right? And then here they all break out machine guns, and they didn't quite blow him away. It looks more like Swiss cheese. Wait a minute, I love this down here. Blast him again, Boyseth.
Yeah, a lot of that fake iambic pentameter talk. This strip, I think, was reprinted in that comics by Les Daniels. So this is like one of my early, Mad strips that I got to read.
And here, of course, is a very hip Marlon Brando.
Right, it's
as
almost a
Brutus.
wild one.
And I don't know, do you guys know what this is? This is the fasci that was from ancient Rome that was used as the signia of the Mussolini fascists. Okay, the black shirts. Right, so yes, it was Rome, but was also representation of fascist dictatorship.
Right. Potts Rebbe. You never get an issue that
Yeah,
doesn't
right,
have
doesn't
Potts
have that.
Rebbe in
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Anytime I think of this story, I always think the title is Schmoolius Schmeezer because they mentioned that.
They
in
mentioned
the,
that, yeah. Because obviously, like,
that would be the natural title for, and they're kind of like, oh, we're not going to do that this time.
and it's
Right.
also a thing where Shakespeare. It's like public domain.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
So you can just call it what it
Yeah,
is
that's
rather
true.
than having to play around.
It's
Well-
pretty cool to look and see how much Wood is doing on these pages,
Yes,
considering once pay cut happens, as he has to go on to other jobs in the future,
he did a lot of
and
work
known
on
for a lot of shortcuts. But here, like, you're getting that high page rates worth of Wally Wood effort on every one of these panels.
Put
just
this
loaded.
next to Submariner versus Daredevil.
Yeah, right, sure.
With some interesting photo paste ups and stuff.
Yeah, I was
Always
thinking that.
great at the explosions
Yeah,
and
it
things.
looks
Comic
amazing.
Always great at that.
And by the way, as we know, they also did a parody of Disney, and Disney
That's
didn't go after them. They went after Dan O'Neill.
Yeah.
A couple of decades
Yeah.
later.
It's like sowing the seeds. So you have just that little glimpse right there.
That's right.
And then Paul Krasner will pick that up in the Realist and commission Wally Wood. Like, you know what? How about a 2-page spread? And let's have everybody get fucked and do some fucking. And I think that's before Air Pirates.
Yes,
So and they got away with that. That was posters and stuff. In that old Wally Wood book, man, they talked about Krasner has a piece in there, and he's like, I offered Wood, $50 or a percentage of the poster sales. He chose the 50. I sold millions of posters. His whole life could have changed with that decision because he was
Right.
very cantankerous about pay and all that kind of stuff.
Now, I want to point out some other parody stuff here for everybody, okay? So up here, no Mark Anthony, Private Eye, it is I who arrest you, okay? I am in reality Trick Dacey, which is, of course, Dick Tracy. no, I'm going to arrest you because I am Junior, who was from
Right.
Dick Tracy, and then no, I'm going to arrest you because I am Fearless Fosdick, which was Al Cap's parody of Dick Tracy, and then they keep going through it, and finally Little Orphan Annie comes out.
Yeah, I wonder, is this like Secret Agent Corrigan or like one of those guys? You know, that looks like an Alex Raymond or,
Yeah,
or an
right, yes.
Al Williamson guy.
Well, yeah, because there was Rip Kirby
Yeah.
was going on at this time,
Or maybe that's Bilbo, what's his face? The Baldo Smudge.
Baldo Smudge, yeah.
and by the way, this is Marilyn
Steve
Monroe.
Unbelievable what is in this issue.
Yeah, well, and that's why this to me was like the top. Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay.
And when you see the collage elements in like a Kirby Fantastic Four or whatever, they're like so smudged and out of focus, and then we get these really crisp ones. So I guess like their process was just smart.
I was listening to this that 7-hour Jim Shooter interview that's you can find on the internet, and he was talking about in the 80s. Help me out, Jimmy. There was like some fumetti that Marvel would do, and you see Jim.
Yeah, there's an entire
issue.
issue of a Marvel book.
So that issue went to the traditional chemical color plant separators who had to hand cut zipatones, and he was like, that is fucking stupid. Do you see there are magazines out there that have black and white or color photography? You do not send this to hand separators who have to like make stats and then develop dots and create 4 different plates by hand. You don't do that. That's stupid. That's dumb. So like, those are Marvel Comics, you know, like they're doing the same old
from like the 30s
with something like this, and we know what's going to happen in about 5 issues from now. It's going to be a magazine, so like maybe you have different infrastructure, and maybe because like the separations for this from EC Comics is so much better than the Marvel DC Comics at the time. Maybe they were ostracized and exiled that they had to find their own color separation house.
Yeah, more expensive just by
Well,
by
and you see those
necessity.
guys go on to do their own magazine productions, to work as commercial illustrators.
Yeah.
I even think of like having the transcript of that argument about 3D with Bill Gaines. Like it
Sure.
seemed like that's a publisher who's looking forward and thinking production and conscious of these kinds of things. We've said it before. We've seen it in interviews where like things that are not done in comics but were done in magazines, and then whenever an artist like Neil Adams would ask about it, it was like, oh yeah, we can do that. But it's like it never occurred to them on their own that,
Neil Adams was the guy that said, no, we could do, like, you guys are using the rules of slick magazines, and you print on toilet paper that's super absorbent. You could do 200% of inks on there. It's not going to slide. That ain't going to slide off anything.
Yeah.
Super fun to look at, Warren.
Yeah, I'll say, wow.
The more I think about it, man, every time you come, we got to do a mad issue because you just have the context that Jimmy and I just do not have. But let's get out of here. Kayfabers, like, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell. We'll notify you when new vids are available. These videos are brought to you in a number of ways. One of those ways is the Patreon that we have going on right now. And if you're a King Kayfaber, you're watching us stream this live right now, and you have access to all the videos that we post before anybody else. Completely mitigates the Kayfabe effect. But the vids are brought to you by the books that we make also. And 2023 is going to be a big year, man. For the 10th anniversary of Hip Hop Family Tree, we're putting out an omnibus edition hardcover, and it's 125 pages of extra material that is not in any of the other books. Man, we've been working really hard on that. There are 4 volumes of the big books of that out there. 2 volumes, Red Room, are on the stands right now, and I have Crypto Killers being solicited to your shops right now. So get those books while they're hot. Hit my link tree in the description below this video. You can get access to all that stuff. Jimmy, what do you got?
Hulk, Grand Design, Street Angel, Deadliest Girl Alive, and the Plain Janes are all available right now in print. You can pre-order Street Angel Princess of Poverty from Image Comics. That'll be out later this spring, and it'll collect the rest of the Street Angel comics that are not in Deadliest Girl Alive. You can also join me on patreon.com/JimRugg to see a lot more of my comics and original art, download out-of-print zines and mini comics there.
Tom?
Pre-order I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. Check out the Total Recall show, and recently I animated Alan Moore's Twilight of the Superheroes pitch. Added some animation to it. I think the first time anybody's done that. Check that out. And go to my Patreon. Go to patreon.com and search Tom Scioli.
Warren, you're going to be back in the summer,
I'll be back.
and we'll do some plugging then?
Absolutely.
All right, man, it's a deal, and we got to do an issue with Matt. Jimmy, what else do we have out there?
Subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe newsletter at the links below this video. You can also find Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts, merchandise, stickers, hats, coffee mugs, and a lot more at our spread shop. That link is also under this video.
Given those marching orders, Jimmy, will be on our way.
Read more comics.
All right.
Yeah, Tom, that I Am Stan book is fucking
Oh,
fantastic.
thanks. I'm glad you guys like it.
Just
Yeah,
incredible.
let's adjust setup.
We're gonna do a video today
Let me
with
see.
you.
You can handle your
That's
mad.
awesome.
Keep
Yeah,
that
be
one
so
in good shape.
be so careful with those wires and stuff, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we'll do the big one. I didn't read it all yet, but I read plenty to see there's the Rashomon parts of it. I love how like you see the Marvel building and sort of how it grows as the business grows.
Yeah,
You know, like that's such
It's
a
a
smart
really
play.
cool looking building, like
Yeah.
in real life. Yeah.
The all dialogue aspect and how you are able to do great stuff without like you learned a lot since Kirby.
Sure. Well, yeah, and I mean, I've done a million comics on like Patreon and
Yeah.
on Instagram and stuff. So I've just been so it's like you're gonna see a big leap because there's actually like
giant.
hundreds of pages
It's giant.
difference between
Yeah,
the
it's
last time I
huge.
did a comic.
It's the best book that's come out from Pittsburgh dudes.
Oh, thanks.
So it's like we got to step up our own games and shit to stack up to that because like it is. Of course, I'm not saying that part on the thing.
Right.
I'm not-
of course, yeah.
I'll say that.
Although
too.
you are on camera.
Yeah. But it's an incredible achievement.
Thank
You should feel very good
Thank
about
you.
yourself.
No, that feels
man.
really good because not too many people have read it. You're among a very like small number of people who've read it.
It's
so
a
that's
pleasure.
Good to hear.
It's a pleasure. It reads so well.
Thanks. Well, that's something like we've talked about that. Like I've been saying for years, I want to do a comic where like the reading experience is just so easy.
It's like manga.
Yeah, exactly. No barrier at all. Like easier to read than not read. you know?
One balloon per
Yeah.
panel. It's so clear. It's like where Kirby's density can scare people and just be like, well, this is you know, I'm gonna have to invest a week into this.
Yeah.
It lulls you in, and it never stops being pleasurable. The evolution, you know, there's no caption that says, you know, 1959.
Right,
like you're
yeah.
just watching the history of comics through this vessel. Like I said, like the Rashomon part of it, you have to have both books.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You got to have the Kirby book and the Stan Lee book, man, because you're seeing the same scenes through different POVs. And I was telling Jimmy yesterday, it's like what Miller says about the Superman and Dark Knight Returns, where it's like if it was a Superman comic, Batman would be the villain in that.
Yeah.
Like the ocarina scene.
Yeah. Right.
Is-
Yeah.
And then you see the Jack Kirby version in your Kirby comic, and then you see the Stan Lee version. He's still an asshole. He still lacks self-awareness and things.
That was an interesting challenge. Like
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
we
watch
go.
yourself with them wires,
Yep.
man.
making a
Made
book
it through.
that like lines up with a book you already did. You know,
Right.
How it interacts with it.
Yeah.
Here it is.
You got to see about doing slipcases.
Genuine
like
gold.
Yeah. Like you got to talk them into some
Okay.
shit.
There we go. All right, so yes, we're gonna have to bring that up a little bit.
Yeah, Jimmy.
All right,
Put it
while
up
you're
on
doing that,
shelf.
I'm gonna use the board.
Yeah,
for it,
take your
okay?
time and some.
Yeah, watch those wires.
Yeah, I got it.
'cause-
I got it.
Cool. And I'm gonna remind you coming back, man, because that computer gets pulled
Remind
down.
me as many times as you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. What
This
it's
is
Crumb, obviously.
well, it's underground comic, and it's it might be the first. You know, we'll get rid of the background, Jimmy. It might be the first kind of all comics underground paper, and it has all the important guys, all the important dudes. And then we're gonna look at Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon
Cool.
after this, and then that'll be that.
That kind of hit me when you said the 10-year anniversary of Hip Hop Family.
I heard you laugh.
Because to me, it's like that's a new comic, you know.
Right.
You know, that's,
We're
that
old
just
as
came
fuck
up,
now,
yeah.
man.
If Hip Hop Family Tree is
It's
10 years
amazing
old,
the
what's
way
that say
that
about
time
like the
goes.
rest of our?
20 years on Street Angel.
Yeah, Street Angel 20 years. Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to renew the copyright on 8 Opus #1 because in a couple years, if I don't, it lapses into public domain.
I noticed the gray in the temples, man.
Well, I'm just doing that for the Stan Lee.
Oh,
Well,
dude,
it's going back to.
I'm gonna have to bring up the Funky Flashman when we do our chat. Yesterday's videos, dude. We got Eastman alert again.
Nice. That's so great. It's so great seeing those guys together, and yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's super fucking fun.
That was cool when you were talking to those guys, or I think you were just talking to Peter Laird doing #1. I'm like, oh, come on, you guys, you better ask that question, you better ask. And then, because like the thing I always wondered about the choice of having the page with nothing on it, with just the, and like it was a discussion. and like Peter was like, "Oh, you don't do that. You know that violates every rule of comics."
And it wastes a piece of paper.
And it wastes a piece of paper. And Eastman's like, no. And then he's like, now looking back, he was 100% right. But it's and like I can relate to that because like you learn all these rules of like screenwriting and 3-act structure and stuff. But sometimes there's really important moments where you got to throw that stuff out the window.
Their intuitive skills as comic
it's
makers
been surprising to me.
is deep. Is deep because like we did issue 4 and 5, and there's like the recap on panel 1. There's like the right place to put in the origin, within the page within the comic, but in like a quick montage.
Yeah, there were some really great layouts. Like there was one that was the 2-page spread of 3 wide panels.
I think Von Bode is the editor of these.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's the guy. Warren will know.
Yeah. But it was like 3 different points of view. Like each panel, it was kind of this perfect layout. And to hear those guys talk, you realize like there are a lot of really great page layouts throughout those Turtle comics.
Oh yeah.
And it does feel like a lot of it is just intuitive.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you could have that built-in sense, and it's the Tarantino thing, right? Like he quit school early. Watch those wires, man. He quit school early. Didn't. I don't think he even has a GED, but like he's got fucking magna cum laude when it comes to film stuff. So like pattern recognition factors in at a certain point. Where you smell a newsprint or something?
Yeah, I don't know. It's something. Wow.
Oh, there's great stuff in here. That was George Metzger, Spain Rodriguez, Juan Baudet. I know them all.
Yeah, man. Von Baudet was he's the editor of this, right? He corralled these guys?
Yeah.
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 Okay, I'll get this
He,
off.
There we go.
And Warren, is this the first all comics underground?
In terms of tabloid,
Yeah, newspaper.
Yeah.
Newspaper, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And these are all the guys that were they were working for East Village Other and Berkeley Barb and stuff like that, and they just all put this together.
Yeah, and this is the precursor to Zap?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Yarrowstocks is the direct precursor. 3
Right.
issues of Robert Cromwell by himself.
No, but Zap, because Zap Zero came out in '67. This is '68.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's right around then.
Yeah, so let me see.
Is that my man, Jay Lynch?
Yeah, this is '69. I'm sorry. So there were a couple issues of Zap that had been out by that point.
Yeah.
Is this a full run, Warren?
That's the full run. You asked me to bring the full
That's
run.
amazing.
Yeah. What, it's just
As a matter of fact,
amazing
somewhere
document.
So just a story before. Well, no, I'll tell the story on. Okay.
So I wonder if we go through all of them, or if we go through the first one and then maybe key a couple of things in the later ones and show all the covers.
Yeah, because this is what I was saying, to start leafing through this. It's going to take a while because there are so many pages, and so we can do this one of a couple of ways, and I think that's not a bad thing. We should leaf through the first one, show the covers, then we can do like 2 issues at a time, or whatever it is you want to do for the deep dive into each one at a later point in time.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so I can always bring them back.
Yeah, that's real cool.
But we can now give people the overview of Gothic Blimp Works, and here's this great thing that you can't get unless you go into the collector market.
That has a lot of value, I think, in having a record of it.
Yeah, and
totally.
so I think going through the first one, maybe the first 2, then we leave the other ones, and I come back with 2 at a time over however long
I think that
it
makes
is.
a lot of sense.
Okay.
Cool.
So and that's because there's just so much here.
All right, I locked them in, Jimmy. I'll get this off of the table. And if you're good, I'm good.
Hit it. Hello and welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Jim Rugg.
I'm Ed Piscor.
I'm Tom Scioli.
I'm Uncle Warren.
Man, before we dive into this underground classic, want to remind everybody that we do have a Cartoonist Kayfabe Patreon now available. 3 different levels on there that will get you access to videos early to beat the Kayfabe effect. And if you take the top King Kayfaber level, you could be watching this video live with us and adding to the conversation as we record. Also, Cartoonist Kayfabe is brought to you by the books that we make. Hulk Grand Design, Street Angel Deadliest Girl Alive, and The Plain Janes are my latest books, and coming soon, Street Angel Princess of Poverty. You can pre-order that one now from Image Comics wherever you get books. Ed Piscor's Red Room has 2 complete volumes, and Volume 3 available for pre-order. The first couple of issues will be coming out Later this year, here's a preview of Crypto Killers cover number 1, a variant of a sketch cover for all of you sickos out there. That should be wild and uncomfortable for me to look at. And a preview of Crypto Killers number 2. Whoops, there's my little glimpse of my variant cover. I will be doing a round of variants for this as well. You can pick up Tom Scioli's I Am Stan, the graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, available now for pre-order, a perfect companion piece to his graphic biography of Jack Kirby. And you can follow Tom on his YouTube channel, Total Recall Show. But we are here today with a very special treat from our guest, Warren. This is amazing to see, Warren. Gothic Blimp Works. This is a legendary underground comic, and one that I don't know if I've ever seen in person before.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, on exactly that point. So, you came to my house with Jaime Hernandez. Okay. And
yes.
No. Look.
And then see, you pay the guy to do the name drop, so you don't do the name drop yourself. And it makes you look cooler.
So they both came to my house for a tour, and Ed was like, "Do you have Gothic Blimp Works?" I was like, "Of course I do." Okay. And I laid them out across the floor of my library, and I've got this great shot of Ed just sitting there gazing down. You know, he was like, "I can't believe I'm seeing these things." Okay.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You know, we know the covers, we know the art. It's been recollected and all that, but you only get the crumb contribution. Some of these other strips by key cartoonists might not have even really hit a reprint ever, or in 40 years, 30 years.
And of course, these have not been reprinted as Gothic Blimp Works.
Impossible.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Impossible. Like, just go ask Gary Groff the toil that went into reprinting Zap.
Yeah, and by the way, so here you can see, here's Vaughn Baudet doing an ad to get people to subscribe. And here's one of his junk waffle, this is all junk waffle stuff here. This is before Cheech Wizard. And, here is Vaughn Baudet, and he was the one who basically pulled this all together.
Yeah.
And, here it is, one of his things, reading Gothic Blimp Works.
Yeah, presents the first monthly underground comic paper.
That's right.
Yeah, so,
unbelievable.
So before this,
go ahead.
Robert Crumb did 3 issues of Yarrow Stocks, which would have been a tabloid joint, but they were solo. And then Zap happens. So these begin right after a Zap or 2 is out on the stands.
Right, and I want to point out here that they also look back, okay, so that they had a really good view of what went before them. And this is Harris and Katie, a double-page spread out of the old Life magazine, okay? And this is The Road to Hell, and this is Life's Improper Number. So here's all the things you can do. So you enter down here: Sunday sports, horse racing, cussing, cards, drinking, prize fighting, smoking, theaters, dancing, flirting. So these are all of the things that
it's the gateway, the
so
stepping
great.
stones.
And you know something? I'm on that road.
I was going to say, it's like Club Hell. This is some of the attractions you can find there.
And Katie was, he did a number of these double page spreads. There was a great Katie book put out by Beehive Books, that people should get if they want to learn more about Harris and Katie.
The drawing is phenomenal, and I encourage everybody as we go through this, because we're going to go page by page through a couple of these issues, and kind of an overview right now of the covers. But man, to pause and zoom in on some of the detail in this drawing is just phenomenal.
And this is why I say that people should, I'm going to put a plug out there for my buddy Josh O'Neill's press, Beehive Books. Did a phenomenal thing with Dennis Kitchen on Harris and Katie. You will not believe what this guy was doing back the early part of the 20th century.
Yeah, there's a date down here of 1910.
Yes.
And it's so interesting to me. You're putting a book like this together, and I guess Baudet was the editor, the guy behind it, but then pulling from history to see these other pieces that are complementary that would fit in something like this.
Yes.
And how rich is that? Now we just Google everything, right?
Right.
But in the late 60s, you're pulling out an artist from 60 years before that and recontextualizing it to some extent, and probably introducing him to an entire new generation of readers.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's also one of the nice things about these guys, that when they did put that in, there was no internet. You had to go to the library, okay?
Get a physical media.
As cartoonists, the sort of crate digging part of our brains, that's agnostic. Everybody has that. There was that Kim Deitch cover.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kim Deitch is really cool to see because like a guy who's still active all these decades later.
Absolutely.
And doing great stuff.
I have a soft spot for him because he was the first artist that I was able to identify just looking at his work when I was a kid, because I had that Comics by Les Daniels that I would take out at the library, had some Sunshine Girl and stuff, and in the school library he had strips and like Nickelodeon magazine in like the 80s, and I'm like, this is that same guy who was drawing those naked penises and buttholes,
Yeah, right.
and he's here, and it's like I knew something that the other kids didn't know. It was pretty cool.
And
I don't.
Gilbert Shelton.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's Gilbert Shelton, and who's one of my
there you
faves
go.
from. Yeah, he's one of my faves from that time because he to me, even to this day, is one of the few cartoonists that could make me laugh on a continual basis.
And people gotta respect Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. By some of the historical stuff that I'm reading, it is more
unbelievable.
popular than Robert Crumb comics.
Oh yeah, there's no question about
it's
that.
sold
yeah.
millions.
Yeah, we should do a Freak Brothers thing. I'll come in because I've been buying those since like 1972.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he was the only one that made me laugh, and even the Wonder Warthogs. There's a whole history there.
Yeah.
About how he came along. So Gilbert Shelton has not gotten his props yet. I'm hoping Kayfabe will help solve that problem.
Yeah, he'd be fun to dive a little deeper on for sure.
Yeah, we did issue 1 of Freak Bros.
Here is
Don't recognize that cartoonist on the back cover there.
this is Mendez. I don't know who the first name is.
That's kind of the fun thing about this is like you'll find people that you just don't know. This is cool for Robert Williams because we're looking at pen and ink, but his paintings start to take on these exact compositions.
Yes,
That's very true. Wow, yeah, and you even see like all those little textures, like the bits of reflective surfaces that I think of when I
sure.
think of his work.
And just
it's
the whole,
all here.
yeah, all of it, the sex
Oh
and
no,
violence.
this is and this is what his cartoon stuff looked like at the time.
sure.
Down here.
Worth noting,
and
Mendes
also
gets
look-
a couple back covers too. Like
Yes.
we had just looked at one
Yeah, here's
on the
another one.
previous
Beautiful
issue.
stuff, but I don't know anything about them. And here, look, all of this stuff is coming out of the television.
Right.
Of course.
And then here is the last issue. That
Classic.
that this cover was also used for the East Village, copy of the East Village Other.
Got to see the original art for this thing at the Carnegie Biennial when they did that
That's right.
that big piece on Robert Crumb, and the it was an East Village Other
Yes.
cover
Yes.
because at the top it was real interesting paper. It had a grid, so it had a blank piece for, this is my recollection, to draw on, and then the top masthead had like graph paper where Crumb could do the lettering, and it's that great East Village Other logo that he did with the big juicy eyeball.
Yeah.
That's the top of this one.
And by the way, I love Crumb. I love Crumb anyway. People, may or may not understand that, but I loved what he was doing with this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay, this is just such a. That's like a great vacuum cleaner. I'd buy that in a heartbeat.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah, and the satire is on point.
Yes.
as well,
yeah. Exactly. And speaking of that, there's a statue now of this.
Of course.
Okay, they made a statue.
Yeah, that would be was it a cover to one of these, or that shows
Yes.
up on a comic book
yeah,
cover for sure?
Yeah, it's a cover to one of these.
All right.
So let's
So
do the
shall
first
we-
one or two.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll put a couple under it just to pad this out as we open them and go.
Yep.
And newsprint's so delicate.
Well, and
This is one of the few where I feel like I should have those white gloves on.
well, what good is this stuff if you can't look at it?
Absolutely.
Okay? So I'm very, very happy to get this on Cartoonist.
And Warren, I thank you for bringing this too, because it's something that I don't know where else you're going to see it.
Exactly.
Like that's one of the
Like-
exciting things from time to time when we get a piece like this that really is a record of comics history that
Yeah.
you might not see this anywhere else.
That's a great thing when you come through, man. We get to have a different kind of comics conversation, and Jimmy and I get to play Padawan and learn a couple of things.
Absolutely.
Well, and by the way, our perspectives is so different because I am into the story and the history and the context, and you guys, and a little bit of the art. Don't get me wrong, I
Yeah.
love that shit. But you guys are the expert in that thing, so that's why I love doing
Great
this.
Jay Lynch, man. He helped give me my start. I started working with him and Harvey Picard in tandem. Got calls from them in the same week, and quit my job and started making comics.
Boy, that's an unbelievable week.
Great week.
Worth noting, copyright 1969, so there was a lot of energy around underground comics at that point. Brilliant to let's harness that energy into a project like this.
Right, and I want to point something out, more meaningless trivia, okay? So Vaughn Baudet, if you notice here, there's a copy of Phalanxy magazine. Well, Vaughn Baudet made most of his money in the 60s doing work for the science fiction magazines of the day, including Galaxy.
Okay.
Okay? fantasy and science fiction, Galaxy. There were a couple other digests that were around at that time. He did stuff in Cavalier, the men's magazine.
Right.
So he was very much in the commercial side of things. And so this is basically an homage to his science fiction work, which he did a lot of.
Yeah, and it was a different style.
Different style,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of neat. It's almost the origin of moving into this underground space for
Yes.
cartoonists.
And
Keep those pages flipping, man. I want to see this thing.
and here we go. Oh, look. It's
The premiere of Cheech Wizard.
an early Cheech. Is this the first one?
No, I don't think so.
Well, Cheech Wizard, especially when he got into his National Lampoon
Yeah,
period, the Cheech Wizards, they're not politically correct anymore, okay? They really aren't, but they were phenomenal. Oh, here's more Mickey Mouse.
You know, it's funny, like, his other characters prior to Cheech Wizard were, like, so complicated
So bad.
and well-designed. And then it's like you come up with something that's dirt simple.
Yes,
And, of
right.
course, that becomes your big hit.
Beautiful double-page spread by Kim Deitch.
Heck of a cartoonist.
What a
Oh,
career.
Yeah, no, his stuff is just brilliant, all the way up until his latest graphic novels. It's unbelievable what that guy's done. And this looks like George Metzger.
One of the first graphic novelists.
Yes, in fact, his book said graphic novel on it,
Nice.
like 3 or 4 years before Contract with God.
Check out that video that we did with Uncle
That's right.
Warren.
But well, I want to stop because he's not given his due.
It's true.
Metzger is not given his due. One, he was a great writer, but look at the drawing.
And this is
what
raw.
He's doing.
This is raw. Like, he grows and develops even further craft than this. That's like really sublime, really primo stuff.
It's cool too to see him playing with formal elements of comics, because I feel like this is kind of stuff that's still done today, and we'll be like, oh, look, it's a formalist, doing
Yeah,
the
right,
stuff. But
exactly.
like, remember, this has been done for 50, 60 years, where some of these
Right.
cartoonists would get in there and really play with the nuts and bolts of the comic strip.
And when it came to the as we said in my Corbin video that we did, I love the science fiction stuff, and Metzger did a lot of that. And so, like I said, I wanted to point him out. He's not given his due. He was great.
I wonder if part of him not getting his due is because he is doing science fiction work
yeah.
at a time
I
whenever
think you're right.
Underground's definitely dominated by other ideas.
We look at, Von Baudet, Richard Corbin. There are people who have that precedent
Yeah.
and who we know.
And here's early Spain Rodriguez. And you can see it's early. This is he's still feeling his way.
Yeah, it's some of my favorite stuff with him, really.
Yeah, I always admired this stuff because it has like almost multiple styles mashing up together.
Such an iconic lettering style for his titles. Unmistakable Spain. And,
Right.
and that's, to me, that's a hallmark of a great cartoonist, is it feel like even your lettering is unique to you.
Yeah.
He was also a guy, like, when I start looking outside of Marvel and DC, he made sense to me because he would have some of these references to
Right.
almost like a genre style
Yeah.
that I could understand and get into.
And then the man himself.
Just out of his mind.
Right.
And you know what? Also, like, he talked about it. Like, he just took on all work. Post-Depression era kid, making a little scratch. Who knows how long this gravy train's going to roll. So, like, this is, in terms of subject matters, nothing. But they wanted 2 pages of Crumb to sell the thing. He's helping out his homies. They're
sure.
already established Crumb fans.
Yeah, just drawing probably every waking moment, and then it's like, well, here's the latest thing.
Yeah,
How many
it's-
pages do you guys want?
Exactly. And
This is so fun too, because there was that one symposium that I think it was Hillary Shoup did in Chicago. Brought all the independent cartoonists down there.
oh yeah.
And Crumb is on stage with Gary Panter. And Panter's talking about how he loved the off-registration of Jimbo. And Crumb is like, what are you fucking saying? Like, we tried so hard to get the separations perfect. And, like, look at how off-register.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
the
Yeah.
dude running probably the hand-cranked offset press
Yeah.
for Undergrounds. What kind of fucking Quaaludes and shit that dude must have been on.
Well, yeah, and look at, this is off by a good quarter of an inch.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's a lot.
not
That's a
since the
lot.
golden age have I seen like a comic this off register.
or every Charlton comic.
Yeah,
Well, now of course it could be pop art. Okay,
yeah. I
we
mean,
don't-
it's super appropriate. You know?
I mean, isn't that what Mr. Brainwash says, man? What you can't fix, you feature, and
You-
put an extra price tag
you
on
got
it.
yank it and crank it. Like, do you really want it like perfectly precise?
It is because the next sort of off-register kind of art like this, Alva Likatuka, would be like Bazooka Joe.
Yeah, sure.
And it would be that kind of simple approach. More Spain, I guess.
Yep, yeah, it's more Spain there.
Yeah, this stuff is almost like a child of Kirby. You
Yeah.
look at this,
Oh.
and if this were published today, you could imagine this coming out as a graphic novel today. This style exactly.
Oh, totally,
And
man. We know
here's-
people who draw that way.
Here's Mr. Spiegelman.
Wow.
Okay, so this is early Art Spiegelman right here.
Look at the rigor in this stuff too. Like we talk about lettering and everything.
It's so fun because I don't even think this is in breakdowns.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't
there are
think it is.
Spiegelman strips out there that we just don't know about. And look, you know what? Whoever owned this like was filling in the gaps. I was like, oh, how did he do that? But no, that's
That's so funny, man. Just following the orders.
yeah.
Get funny with your pencils. Now, who,
This is that guy.
John Thompson.
I think in the Drew Friedman book, there was that like weird like he was that cartoonist that is kind of all the other undergrounds were like, oh, that's a little bit fucked up. I could be wrong, but
I was thinking it was that there's that one underground comic that's just like the symbols, like it has a character that looks like this right on the cover.
That might be him.
I love this though. I love all the pattern stuff.
And like, what drug sits you down to do that? Because that's not a guy who's like, give me some more speed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
right.
this is a person sitting there doing the outlines of the little white circles
Did
and then filling in all the blacks.
Did they have Adderall in 1969?
Yeah, that's
might have.
trucker speed.
Well, and are you familiar with Fred Schreier and Dave Sheridan's work? Because they were also very detailed.
Oh yeah, Jay
okay?
Lynch will grow into that also, and it's I mean these guys. I mean look at this. This is somebody who's exploring chemical endeavors.
Yeah, I think so. I love these the Cyclops.
Oh, there's
A lot of like Third Eye, fucking
And
Illuminati.
well, and when you talked to like I had a conversation with Bill Griffith. There was an exhibit up in up at the Whitney about psychedelia, and they went through all the different things. But yet, you went through that whole exhibit. They never once mentioned LSD. And I was talking with Bill on the phone, and he was like, "Well, that's what we were trying to go for." Okay,
Yeah.
he was
kind of there
very
in the
upfront.
name.
Yeah. Isn't Gothic Blimp fun, gang? Be the first head on your block to generate your loved ones monthly.
Love the lettering, man, and it's cool seeing him play with that kind of stuff. Man, you see how he could stand out because like everybody else, the comics they're coming from is the Walt Kellys and the Carl Barkses, but like Richard Corbin and Von Baudet, they were not shy about their love of the profane,
Yeah, sure.
sci-fi, whatever.
Right. And,
Yeah, it's a poster.
And also, just these in-house ads would be great.
Sure.
Just to go ahead and go through all those.
Yeah, hand done coupons and stuff.
Is Reb Lynch a real person? Is that a
That
pseudonym?
isn't Jay Lynch.
This, I don't know who did this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know who did this at all.
from the archives of Roger Brand. It's Roger Brand,
Ah, gotcha,
probably.
yeah. Larry Todd.
Larry Todd, yeah. He
Yeah,
was
there are
great.
those dudes that like, oh, dude, almost doing like a. It's not Walter Keane, we found out, but it's
Right.
Yeah, but
his
also-
old lady.
And you look at the layouts of the pages, look at this stuff kind of going across this way and kind of disturbing, coming up from here.
The amount of text in that panel.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it requires decoding more than reading. You don't really read these kinds of underground comics. Oh man, S. Clay Wilson getting in
Yep.
there.
The Checkered Demon. Love his stuff.
Somewhat restrained when I think of S. Clay Wilson. Like he's not
Yeah.
quite on that like
Cutting dicks off and frying
right,
them up
and
and stuff.
super fine lines of just never-ending number of lines and everything. This is beautiful. I like this a
I
lot.
don't know who.
And this would probably have been, a Von Baudet decision of like who gets the color signatures and things.
Really playing with the way they're putting color on, without like holding lines and
Right.
things.
Great issue.
Amazing.
So
Let's do one more.
Yeah, let's do that.
issue number.
Like the colors.
Yeah, I think that's processed red ink. That's the ink that it will be at the front of mangas.
Yeah, here, contributing editors: Crumb, Deitch, Spain, Rodriguez, a couple art directors, publisher of Capitalist Exploiter.
Now this is from the archives. This is older than
Yeah, this is older, right,
and
yes.
you can see
Yeah,
1967.
yeah.
And I have this. We did a Cheech Wizard video, and it has this in Cheech Wizard
Yeah.
1.
Here we go.
Roger Brand.
Yep.
Jeez.
Lick the boss's ass, which is what people are, they
Gone to
don't
brown
want to do anything.
nose. Gone to brown nose. Great lettering.
Yeah, here's Metzger again.
This is cool, man. Really like this
No,
look.
he was, just look at his lettering up there. I mean, like I said, Metzger, not enough said about him. Love his stuff. Another great example. Another great double page spread.
It's hard to imagine some of this stuff published at a smaller size
Yes.
Right.
when you're collecting
Yes.
it.
This is a classic strip. This is reprinted in comics by Les Daniels, and was like one of those strips that put Jay Lynch onto my radar as like somebody to kind of reach out to. Also, these things, man, are
Yes.
like what the fuck are those? I see those. My aunt has those.
They're I'm sorry. They were really weird. I did not like
They're
those
a piece.
ones.
They are that kitsch pop culture that like the Bill Griffith era. Like all those guys would kind of draw the.
Yeah, I
these
feel like
little
I've seen
fucks.
these in like alternative comics.
Totally. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny.
Clowes would draw those things.
This is fun too, you know, playing with like you've got a giant page like Tom mentioned, and now we're like putting strips within that and
Yeah,
really
sure.
playing with that whole tabloid canvas.
Well, and this is why I like comics on newsprint, because you know you're starting at tabloid size, and you know how do you then utilize that?
Yeah.
Mark Argino, not a name I recognize
No.
from anything.
Gotta go see the big book and see if Drew Friedman painted them.
Yeah, it's neat to see these guys who maybe this is it. They just dipped in and out. You know, they brushed up with somebody and we're lucky to get some space.
Gee, I wonder who did Tales from the Land of Genitalia. I wonder which creator did this.
Giant strip, like unforgettable, man. But then like the stuff that I always gravitated
Yes.
toward is just the consideration of lighting,
This panel right here.
the
okay?
textures,
Yeah.
like soft edges on the TV. This ain't easy to draw,
Right.
but he makes it, look achievable.
And I love the guy looking out there.
That is no guy. That is the Snoid from
So,
Sheboygan.
that's right. That's right. I love the furniture, the same curve on the furniture
Little
here.
doily, like it all
I
feels
used to have a
accurate.
Mac that looked like this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
early G3s.
Oh, what is this? Oh, it's Spiegelman. Okay.
Wow, giving him the center spread treatment.
Promising young talent.
And delivering.
Yeah, right.
I love all these textures that he's putting in here.
Yeah, what's interesting, at 1969, that's potentially also the early Wits End, and Spiegelman would be a contributor to that. At this point, if he's a contributor to Wits End, he might also have his Topps career is in effect right at this moment also.
And by the way, Little Nemo.
Oh, of
Yeah,
course.
Okay. This down here is Little Nemo.
Yeah, of course. But it's rough drawing.
Kim Deitch.
Yep. And who is this? Lowenstein or something? I can't really read that.
Yeah, I don't recognize that name either. Nice page layout though.
There's Von Bode bits to it.
Yeah.
It's probably a Von Bode homie.
Look at this kind of drawing where like you're taking off no ears or eyes or mouth, but just like the
Yeah, sure.
indications, the space is right.
To keep enthused while I'm working on some stuff, I've been going through like 90s MTV animations and rewatching
Oh, those are great.
Liquid
Yeah.
Television.
Yeah, yeah.
And an anthology like this where you have like a big number of styles involved, it's just making me think about that. Where like when you turn the page, you just don't know what you're going to get. That's kind of the fun of it.
Yeah, it definitely feels like some of these guys are playing.
That's
wow.
amazing. That looks like fanzine shit.
Kaluta,
you know?
MW
Yeah.
Kaluta.
That makes so much sense.
Wild.
That makes so much sense.
Does it?
Oh yeah, totally. First off, he's affiliated with these cats. He would show up in these kind of joints. We might see a Jeff Jones in a page or two.
Right.
Yeah, it makes a million percent. Of,
And reproducing pencils.
it
pretty
might have-
early on.
It might have been a submission to DC or something, and it's like let's use it somewhere else.
Or it could have been for a fanzine, or at that time.
Exactly,
you don't
totally.
know.
You can almost picture it in heavy metal too. This guy's committing suicide, but it's metal plates like he's some kind of android that he's,
Yeah.
the sci-fi elements in some of these underground comics are very welcome from my point of view.
And here's a very formal S. Clay Wilson.
With that 12-panel grid.
Yeah.
I think about that 12-panel grid a lot lately. now another decoding strip.
Yeah, another Larry Todd.
Yeah, that would just turn into black if you printed it at a normal size.
Very true. Yeah, the original might look quite a bit different too. A lot of dot gain on this newsprint. Yeah, Spain Rodriguez.
Yeah. Beautiful stuff. Although it's interesting. There's this big area down here.
Oh my goodness, this is going to be
Simon.
Simon Deitch.
Is this Trina?
Looks like Trina. Oh yeah, there's her signature.
Yes. So if you think about it, a woman in the middle of this when all of comics was a man's world.
Yeah, Kim Deitch was like hooked up with her at this moment. I know they got a kid.
Boy, that's great lettering too.
Yeah.
Really like
No,
that.
she was actually really good. So
So Warren, you'll bring two more issues.
Yeah.
Next time you roll through.
that's right. We'll bring
What a
2
treat.
more. Okay. I'm glad everybody liked it. You don't get a chance to see it.
And the cool thing is, man, with that 1080p or whatever, you could pause the video, read a strip.
This is that Thompson that was in the first issue
Yeah,
that we
that
were looking at.
psychedelic shit.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah.
all those patterns and everything. Our Cyclops.
Is that
Wow.
Ginsburg?
Yeah, this is so it's an ad. So they actually
Okay.
had some advertising later on. This is issue 2 over here.
It's probably that capitalist exploiter in the front. Selling
Yeah.
his back cover.
The wolf in sheep's clothing. Yes, I'm
Yes.
just like you guys.
Fantastic, Warren. Thanks so much.
Yeah, man, let's do some more in the future.
We will do that.
Kayfabers, like, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell. We'll notify you when new vids are available. We have a Patreon here at Cartoonist Kayfabe, and our biggest supporters get all the videos before anybody else. Mitigates the Kayfabe effect. There may or may not be some Kayfabe effect on this, man. You can find these things on eBay, but they're going to be about $150 a piece.
And number 8 is very difficult to find.
Yeah, man. But the videos are also brought to you by the books that we make. And big 2023 for the Cartoonist Kayfabe Kings this year, man. There's going to be a Hip Hop Family Tree omnibus coming out in time for Christmas, man. We're collecting all the 4 volumes of Hip Hop Family Tree. There's going to be about 125 pages of extras in there. We're now soliciting the next 2 issues of Red Room, Crypto Killers. Your shop can put in that order for you, reserve your copies. 2 trade paperbacks are out there of that. There are 4 trade paperbacks of Hip Hop Family Tree, 3 of X-Men Grand Design, and you might find the occasional WYSIWYG out there. Jimmy, what do you have?
My next book, Street Angel Princess of Poverty from Image Comics, is available now for pre-order. It'll be out in May, and it collects all of the Street Angel comics that are not in Deadliest Girl Alive, and that includes comics from 2003 till about 2016. So complete your Street Angel collection with that one. You can also pick up Hulk Grand Design, Street Angel Deadliest Girl Alive, and the Plain Janes now all available in print. And you can join me on patreon.com/JimRugg, where you can see lots more of my comics and art, and you can download out-of-print zines and mini comics.
Tom, tell the people what you have, man.
You can pre-order I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. You can also pre-order the softcover edition of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. And you can watch me on my YouTube channel, where I recently did an animated version of Alan Moore's Twilight of the Superheroes pitch. And check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli.
Warren, you'll come back in the summer.
I'll be back in the summer.
You have
Yes.
something to pimp then, and you bring a couple Gothic Bloodborne.
Oh yeah,
with you?
absolutely.
Jimmy, what else do we have?
Subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe newsletter at the links below this video. You can also find Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts, merchandise, mugs, stickers, hats, lots more at our spread shop. That link is also under this video.
Given those marching orders, will be on our way.
Read more comics.
All right.
This is beautiful, Warren. Great to see these.
You know the other thing with the Kaluta and the Jeff Jones and stuff, like Bernie Wrightson collaborated with Von Baudet and some of the Cavalier stuff. Roger Brand is in here, and then Michelle Brand becomes Michelle Wrightson. So all those fuckers are partying. and
Yes, that's
stuff,
right.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not realize that group was connected.
And you'll see Jeff. Yeah, I bet you Jeff Jones is in here.
I don't know one way or the other. I do love this cover.
It's
though.
a great cover.
Robert Williams, he's such a fascinating artist. There's a great documentary that was done on him from Rhino Video, Rhino Records, whatever you want to call it. About an hour and a half. It's right at that period, maybe right before Juxtapose. You know, so his painting career has taken off and stuff.
Warren, you need a hand with any of the next round?
Well, actually, here, why don't you take this over and start sizing up the big stuff, and then we can discuss how.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We saved that Flash Gordon for you, man.
Yeah, I was hoping.
Yeah. Yeah, we did a concrete, but this will be the last one, and then we'll probably set up in the other room or something.
Okay.
And you know what, Jimmy? I think like the announcement video with the microphone and stuff that all worked out really well. So we'll do a version
Same
like
setup.
that. With,
Yeah, I was thinking
with
that.
Tom.
We'd just sit on beside each other. Tom over there.
Exactly.
These are giant.
Yeah, man. Tom, it's been a while. Like I didn't even see you since I came back from Japan.
Right. Yeah.
I brought back so much
Oh
crazy
yeah, we have
shit,
a
dude.
bunch of stuff for you.
Oh yeah,
my
There-
mailbox.
Yeah, that is your box.
Okay.
And Scioli rules applied, man. If you want anything, you gotta take it all.
Yeah. Okay.
That's but dude, there's Peter Laird sent you some stuff, man.
Oh, cool.
Like before Turtles.
Mm-hmm. No, that's
There's
awesome.
like a calendar, and it's totally up your alley type shits, man.
I don't know how we're gonna do this exactly.
There's that bringing up a father, dude.
Oh yeah,
That's fun.
what a great look at that panel, so good.
From 41, is it by McManus? Yeah, it says so.
Whoa.
Flash Gordon,
Who does Jungle Gym there? Is that Raymond?
Alex Raymond.
Yeah, he does 2 strips. Ain't that
Yeah.
crazy?
Mm-hmm.
What a page.
Yeah, that collection. There's like the one collection of Flash Gordon where it's like this giant one, and it's got the Jungle Gym
Yeah.
strips on the first for like the first like 6 months or something.
Wonder if we'll take away the plastic so it can lay flat. Is
Yeah, we've
probably
done that. We've
my
done that
guess on
before.
how to do that.
Yeah, I would just let Uncle Warren handle all that stuff.
sounds
Now
right.
watch this right here.
Yeah, every time you turn
Those
one of those
pubes out of
pages,
there?
it's like this giant, delicate thing that has like weight that you're pulling. It's
Yeah, and when Uncle Warren leaves, man, there's usually like little gimmicks.
Right, little, like,
misprint
yeah.
gimmicks. But I ain't saying that.
like when you shed skin.
We're gonna have to be real conscious of talking like.
We'll be standing
or
up. Yeah, we'll be standing up just like we do with artist editions, man. This ain't our first rodeo.
Okay, boys and girls.
But you know what that means for the King Kayfabers, man. They're getting cock shots of all their favorite guys. It's like that scene in Once Upon a Time in America where the chick has to identify the guys by their junk. So they all pull their pants down. She's like, oh, I know you.
All right, so let me just get all of the stuff out that I have.
Yeah, do it. And you're
And
going
then-
to probably be the page turner, Warren, because this is very delicate materials.
Well, I have to put. I just selected everything.
Square. Oh, there it is.
Do you have a small? Oh, perfect. Can I steal?
Yeah, whatever you need, man. That's literally what they're there for. It's for marking up.
Okay, because one of the things I just wanted to show people, and I just need to mark. Here we go. So I just wanted to mark a page because I want to, because everyone's familiar with all the Buck Rogers stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, Buck Rogers.
Hey, Jimmy, man, we should all be over here.
Are we ready to start?
No. I just want to prepare everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to show everybody that the designs for the rock ships from Buck Rogers didn't come out of thin air.
Right.
Okay. Here is Frank R. Paul. Okay. At that same time, even a little earlier, doing all this kind of work.
Oh, are there dates on there?
Yeah. This is
32.
32. This is 30. There's earlier stuff, but they're small, and people wouldn't see like stuff like this.
That stuff
Yeah,
is so
yeah.
fucking
These are
rad,
the
man.
things Jack Kirby was looking at when he was a
right.
kid.
Exactly. So something. Maybe we'll just pick a page at. Let's do that.
Yeah, do the earliest, man.
Yeah.
The small is
Yeah.
good.
So so right here. So this is 1926 Amazing Stories, and you look at the spaceships, okay, and you go.
dildos.
My grandma has that massager.
Yeah. I was-
All right. So that takes care of that. Let me put this away. By the way, if you don't have it, this is a great fucking book.
That is a nice looking book.
Yeah, it's a great book. There's a equivalent volume of Alex Schomburg. That's also a box thing of Alex Schomburg.
We got to do a good Schomburg. Do you got a bunch of Schomburg?
I have a half a dozen covers.
Yeah.
And plus I have some of his science fiction work. So yeah, we could do Schomburg.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I always thought this was a
Here, look at this.
Amazing, man. Warren always comes with the goods, yo.
I was like, I'm gonna get one chance to do this. Okay. And
Going all out.
yeah. So let me just put this back in here. Go. All right. So I just want to show you what I have, and then we can figure out the best sequence in which to do that. Maybe we do the small stuff first, break, and then bring the camera up. It's up to you guys.
Put that down, Jimmy. Or...
yeah.
So I wanted to show everybody what it meant, what these characters meant to pop culture, and I wanted to start off.
That's a famous one.
Yes, yeah. So this is
my
not
God.
this is not Buck Rogers, but this is the first Buck Rogers story. This is Buck Rogers, okay, and what he looked like via Frank R. Paul. This is the Air Lords of Han.
And I want to talk about these two because this thing now, this is like a $3,000 book now. Okay, so I brought those, and then I brought the pop-up books. In fact, I don't have.
You can't open those, right?
No.
No more.
A 1930s pop-up.
No.
book. It still
man.
works.
Okay. No, I brought them. You know, what good is it? I'm not going to bring them along to show the fucking cover. Okay. So I wanted to show this small stuff, and you know, I don't know how. I guess it would be okay.
We can bring that camera down. That's not a problem at all.
All right. So I want to start with the small stuff, and then we can kind of go up.
Maybe even just that is fine.
All right. So there's that, and I can speak to all of this stuff. In fact, what I should do.
Yeah, this really is the lineage, though, because you get, like,
Yes.
how this becomes Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, and then how that becomes, like, Superman. And, you know.
Yes, exactly.
And just the evolution of the comic strip with, you know, we have these pulps, and then I guess, you know, if this is the first
I'm
appearance.
going to show you guys something, but I'm not going to open it for other people. So this is Armageddon 2419. So these are the original Dick Hawkins illustrations.
So who's the first cartoonist to do this shit?
Well, it was Hawkins.
It was?
Okay, but here the opening illustration is Frank R. Paul, who did the cover.
Yeah.
He was, and there it is, Armageddon 2419 by Philip Francis Nolan.
So it's written by. So like, did this guy write the strip?
Yes.
And that guy drew it.
Yeah, and well, Hawkins did the daily strip. They had this guy by the name of Russell Keaton doing the Sunday
We
strip.
should probably, we'll save all that. We'll put our.
Yeah.
The questions
No.
I have are the questions that the people will have. Probably.
Right, exactly. And then you know, we can go ahead and talk about all this. So, but I want to get this out so people can see it.
Yeah.
These have not been out of these things in years. I don't normally open them up, but anyway, you know, people are gonna freak the fuck out because this is really famous now.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So we're gonna want to just be conscious of like Jimmy, maybe you keep it at this level, but pull it in a little bit because Warren's instinct is to.
Well, no.
These out
I
here.
can. I'll adjust as you know. I can.
I want you to be comfy too, man.
Yeah.
All right. So that's
Honestly, Warren, you know what you keep in mind? This line, just keep it right. Go up to that line.
Yeah, hit-
You
hit-
see
hit
like
that
where that's
line.
at.
Yeah,
and
that's
okay.
it'll be great.
All right. So now I just wanted to sequence these. Okay. I just pulled them, and these two will go at the bottom. So these are the complete sections, and so we're just gonna like.
Oh, look at that! Look at that, man.
Yeah. Right. No. These are stunningly beautiful.
Color, like, still.
Yeah, very
Rich.
Very
vibrant.
nice condition on these.
Look, I was very lucky to find these. This is part of mine. So where the fuck is my Flash Gordon?
Is this that shit you bought off the old dude?
No, I
the stacks.
No. I forgot where I got these. No, there's Mickey Mouse.
Is it the first
Yeah,
page?
I think the first page was Flash Gordon.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I just go right past it? Oh, there we go. All right, so just look at this. Okay, it's just stunning. All right,
Every little boy that would have seen this.
That's right.
That would have been their hero panel.
that's right. So I wanted to pull. So I've got because he really changed his style, and we'll get into that. So this goes to the bottom. Okay, this will be one of the last things we show. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the very first Buck Rogers Sunday page.
In Pittsburgh.
No, it says Houston.
Well, no, but in the story, he
Yes.
wakes up in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh,
I
yes.
see.
Okay. So very, very local. So yes, this is the first one.
Amazing.
Try finding another one. Okay. So I wanted to show just some, because there was a big evolution in terms of, and then this is by 1930, he looked like this. So I just want to go through to show I have them, and then we can show them in any sequence. But I brought some good examples so that people could see what was going on. And this is 1930. Now, just imagine being a little boy in 1930 seeing this. And then this is one of the earliest. So, okay, so this is all the Buck Rogers. All right, so we're good there. Then this is Flash Gordon, of course. But I have one earlier than July 15th. There's 1939. And I wanted to show the evolution. Okay,
Yeah.
Here we go.
Talk about the DNA too of like the early comics.
Of comics.
It's
Oh, yeah.
all right
Yeah.
here.
All of these, you mash all of these comics together. You know?
34.
The
Okay,
Phantom,
here we go.
all this stuff.
So it goes in this, and then I had this page, so you can see how much.
Yeah,
see,
unbelievable.
look at the maturity that he had going forward. And then, that's right, I had, now these pages, these are mindfuck. These are some of the best Buck Rogers pages you will ever see. So if I do that, so right there, this is all the Flash Gordon stuff in order, okay? This will go on the bottom,
Of the Bucks.
okay? But these are the primo, these are the ones you want to see.
Yeah, it's got like a little Nemo kind of Art Nouveau look to it.
It almost looks like the Gothic blimp shit. It's like, you know,
Well,
these guys
yeah.
were looking at these comics. They grew up with this
So-
shit in a way.
One of my favorite panels is right here.
Yeah, that leads into Wolverton. You think of those early Space Hunter.
Sure.
So
I think of Fletcher Hanks as like the twisted, almost drawing left-handed version of this.
You're right.
Yeah.
okay, here we go.
Awesome Seeger. Oh man, these Sunday pages is fucking
All right,
sick.
so
They really are.
Yeah, so this
really
okay, so
great.
this is
Look
the
at
last
this
one. So
freaking
this is
thing.
Yeah.
33. So
So much going on.
right, and you know, if you're a little kid, and by the way, this is still a year before Flash Gordon comes along. Okay, so
Yeah.
this was the only science fiction thing out there. All right,
I'm gonna ask you just because maybe you don't know the answer or whatever, but like, was Flash Gordon completely a contrivance of the Syndicate in response to Buck Rogers?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So that they were looking
I'll probably ask that on the
right.
channel
Yeah,
then.
no, and which is what you should do. Okay. So here we go, and so this, and by the way, the other thing that happened, and we'll talk about this, is Tarzan started at the same time in the newspaper, and what these two things were in terms of being different, these were serials.
Yeah.
Okay. The Sunday pages prior to that, they were all self-contained. One Sunday, no stories were
Right.
over multiple days. Okay. So this and Tarzan brought in the adventure strips.
Right.
Okay.
Totally.
These were the two that started it. So there's so
And
much.
they're ripped from the pulps, so like
They're
that-
right.
we should make mention of that.
All right. So and then I want to show. Let me get this out.
Was the Phantom in pulps? And then
Well,
or
no,
were
the
they
Phantom,
sort
the
of
Phantom
strips?
wasn't in pulps, but Buck Rogers clearly came out of the pulps.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to bring
Is
these
that your decoder pin?
close. How do I?
Be sure to
Oh,
drink
there
your
we go.
Ovaltine.
Buck Rogers Solar Scouts.
Printing on that.
Just getting fucking mailing lists, man.
Well, it's not only the mailing list, but you go through here and it's like, look at all this cool stuff you need to have. I mean, I'm sorry. This is 1936. I want all of this, and I'm in the 21st century.
Yeah, some
okay?
OG cosplay.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So wanted to talk about, and then this is from Kellogg's.
Be sure to eat your Kellogg's cornflakes.
All right, and there's all these, these great, just all this classic stuff from.
I feel so fucking inspired, man. Like, Lauren, thanks so much for bringing all this stuff, dude.
This is why. Oh, that's right. You're not paying me any big bucks. Okay?
This is legacy stuff now, Warren.
Yeah.
Right.
You-
Right. No. And okay. So I just wanna. So it's these big pages that. Can we raise the camera just a little?
well, we'll do the little stuff
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll do the
I
setup
see.
And then we'll
Okay.
raise it up.
All right. So we need to start here.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Okay. So you start with this, and then I'll talk about these out.
So we'll lock in. I'm as close to the mic as anybody.
Now, do you want me to go? Do you want me to show a pop up or two on?
If you're up for it, why not?
What good is it if you don't see it?
There's like the origin of Superman. I always think of that drawing because it's like it's her cape, but
Right.
you can read this image as him wearing that cape.
Yeah. So and
Just
Save that
remember to
good
say
stuff.
that exactly.
Yeah.
so here is 19.
The origin of superhero underpants.
So I think that this was. Let me see.
And fucking
Yeah,
Alex
this is
Raymond-
19. This is 1935. So
And Alex Raymond's so accurate, so you get like cock bulges and stuff.
yeah, right.
Creases.
You get
Use
the
each
yam
eye.
bags. You get the yams.
All right. So we'll do. Okay.
I don't know why you
just want
guys are
to
saying
sequence
this. You're just gonna have to say it again.
Okay, so I want to do the pop culture stuff first, and then this, just so you know, I'm going to open this because in here is Flash Gordon's Trip to Mars. Okay, a 3-page spread that
just shows because these had serials.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay?
So I was gonna say, is this images from the serials?
Right. So this is the whole pop culture aspect of it. Then we can go to the Sunday pages. You catch
Yeah.
from, okay.
Let's do it, man.
You
Let's
ready?
do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
We're probably running low on battery,
Yeah, that's the only thing that scares
so
me.
we need to. Once you hit 20, like it still holds for pretty well. So if you guys are good, let's just jump right into
Yeah, let's do
things.
it.
Hello and welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Jim Rugg.
I'm at Piscor.
I'm Tom Scioli.
Uncle Warren.
And before we dive into this amazing episode, I want to remind everybody that we do have a Cartoonist Kayfabe Patreon out there now. 3 different levels will get you access to videos early to beat the Kayfabe effect, as well as access to the recording sessions if you choose that King Kayfaber level. And you can actually sit in and listen to us recording these episodes and contribute to the conversation that way. We are also working Cartoonist. Best way to support Cartoonist Kayfabe is to buy our books. I have Street Angel, Deadliest Girl Alive, The Plain Janes, and Hulk Grand Design available now. Street Angel, Princess of Poverty. Pre-order that one will be out later this spring. Ed Piscor has 2 volumes of Red Rooms and a 3rd volume of Red Room available now for pre-order, coming out in the next couple of months. Hip Hop Family Tree celebrating its 10th anniversary. You can pre-order a deluxe omnibus edition that collects all of the Hip Hop Family Tree along with 120 plus extra pages that'll be out later this year. Pre-order that one now though, because those are going to sell quickly. X-Men Grand Design, WYSIWYG, also available from Ed. Tom Scioli, I Am Stan, the Stan Lee biography coming out later this year, available now for pre-order, and the Total Recall Show, his YouTube channel.
What just happened?
That is
We're running low on battery.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know what? I might have to. I might have to record this one.
It's still recording. Hit the...
Cool. So we're gonna have to kind of be snappy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
That was it.
Okay.
Let's dive
Okay.
in.
Okay. So everybody, this is all about Luke Skywalker's grandpas.
Yeah, right.
Buck
yeah, there's
Rogers.
the Death Star.
Right, the Death Star. Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon. So first we're going to focus on Buck Rogers just for a second because this is what is known as the Buck Rogers Amazing. This is not Buck Rogers. This is the very first story about Buck Rogers, Armageddon 2419. It was reading this story that I think his name was Dill, contacted Nolan and Calkins to see whether or not they would make a strip. They made a daily strip which premiered in 1929, which is when this the second story came out, The Airlords of Han. And it was another year before they had a Sunday page. We'll get into that in a second. So both Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon, they were very big in terms of pop culture for the time. So here is a Kellogg's promotional booklet, Buck Rogers 25th Century, with these great Dick Hawkins drawings in them.
Amazing printing.
Yeah, fabulous printing. Look at the colors on these things, okay? And look at this, a television eye. So that if you think about it now, you've got this is a drone.
Yeah.
With a TV camera.
Brother Eye.
A ray gun. They don't have any of those yet.
None
So-
that you can buy at a consumer level, at least.
Right,
You
exactly.
can get your vision fixed with some of those.
And then this one is the Solar Scouts, and this is basically all about getting you to join to become a Solar Scout so that you can buy enough stuff to look like this. And yes, I want to look like that.
It's amazing when you think of what cosplay is today. And
Yeah.
it's almost a theme as we go through this stuff, is
Yes.
how long lasting the impact is. But I mean, that's cosplay. It's it's huge today.
And I want to talk about Buck Rogers just for a second because it was Buck Rogers that Ray Bradbury was reading that got him into science fiction. All right. So, because a lot of kids, 9 or 10 years old, they weren't reading the pulps yet.
Right.
And so they would be reading Sunday pages.
Yeah, I think Harlan Ellison started at with strips and stuff as well.
Right, exactly. And you go through this, and this is all the cool stuff. Okay.
I think I saw a cod piece you could buy.
Just all this equipment, a knife. So when it comes to pop culture,
Okay, I thought I was like, is that fucking...
Now, when I was a kid, I had like a Star Wars laser gun that was not far off from this
that's
at
right.
all.
Yeah, exactly. So all of this stuff that we know from Star Wars, okay,
Yeah.
and Star Trek a little bit before that, all of that came out of here, not only from a contextual circumstance of that they were doing science fiction and these guys were heroes, but also from the way pop culture embraced them.
Yeah, I mean, even the merchandising is
Yes.
identical. You have the
Yes.
action figures on the previous page. You have the board games. You have the
That's right.
Pencil
role
box.
playing. Yeah,
Remember in the 80s, man, you had the little lunchbox
Pencil
with the
box.
thermos?
There's my uniform. Okay, there's my vibrator and
The little blaster.
little blaster. But anyway, how you-
I think back in those days they called it a hysteria machine or something.
yes, yeah, it was something like that. So anyway, Spaceship Commander, Buck Rogers Solar Scout. So you can get badges. So there was all these ways to engage kids, and all of the. So you know, the science fiction, the hero pulps of the day, the Shadow, the Spider, Doc Savage, they all had clubs also
Yeah.
that you could join.
And
Okay.
and what that really is they're gonna make a bunch of tchotchkes like this that probably don't look as cool as the drawings, but they now have your mailing list, so they
Right.
can solicit to you. They could get better ad revenue
Yes.
when they present all those mailing lists, all those addresses to Madison Avenue,
Right.
and that's the function. When
So-
we were kids, it was 900 numbers and stuff would get
Right,
your
yeah,
phone
yeah,
number
exactly.
and things.
So and both of them, okay. If you look at this, Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, they had pop-up books.
that cover with Flash Gordon. If you go back to that cover, I always think of this image as being like the inspiration for Superman. That like Siegel and Schuster saw this. Now this is not Dale Arden. I think this is Dale Arden's cape.
Yeah, right.
But when you see this image, it kind of reads like this is Flash Gordon's cape.
Yes, right.
He's got the little shorts. He's got the boots. Basically, the Superman archetype is
Got the
like
spit
instead
curl.
of blue, you got the flesh. Yeah, you got the spit curl, everything. So I
Right.
feel like that's like day one of Superman.
And this is 1935, so
Right,
this
yeah.
is 3 years before. So, and
So
and
good.
you look at these. I'm sorry,
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it
That
really
is
is
beautiful.
and this is great because Ming the Merciless enters riding between the jaws of death. Okay, now how much more pulpy can you get
Yeah.
than coming in riding on the jaws of death?
You definitely want to see the next serial after.
This stuff looks amazing in person, by the way. Seeing like the 3 dimensions.
Yeah,
of it.
and
Great printing with the color there.
yeah, absolutely fabulous stuff. So there's a Flash Gordon, of course, Buck Rogers, and I'm sorry this. So we'll do this.
Look at that.
All right, just phenomenal. Yeah, look at the printing on this.
Yeah,
It's
I
just,
wonder how
great
if
color
these are
sets.
like hand cut or something back in the day. Like
I always wondered that how you would see brushstrokes, like you would see that in the
Yeah.
little Nemos and things.
so just that everyone can see.
Genius.
Yeah, the color. I guess it's like lithograph, so you get that
Yeah, the color is
watercolor
gorgeous.
quality to it.
Yeah, and then there's one in the middle. Come on. Underwater,
That's so good, man.
tossed in the current, and then of course in here are drawings by. Look at this. You just gotta love this stuff.
Yes.
And this is all, if you think about Star Wars and all of that stuff, this is where it all started.
Yeah,
Okay?
and you're seeing like the language of just comics in general. I'm seeing like an influence on Wolverton.
Yeah.
You know.
And in terms of that influence, one of the things when I was sitting there in the movie theater watching the first Star Wars movie, I had seen. So this is Flash Gordon Goes to Mars. So this is Look magazine from 1938, and they gave a 3-page spread to the latest serial for Buck Rogers. Okay.
Is that one of the Bowery Boys showing
You know
up
something?
in there?
I thought the same thing. I
Yeah.
thought it was like, is that Leo Gorcey?
Yeah, that's it. Leo Gorcey.
So here you've got this very nice.
Boys.
So you've got this really nice double-page spread telling all about Buck Rogers. Now my dad loved Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, and both of them had serials during the 1930s.
Same actor
Right now, but the whites
In both of them?
in both. Buster
Yeah,
Crabbe
Buster Crabbe.
is Buck Rogers and Flash
and
Gordon.
Flash Gordon, yeah. So they used him. He's on the cover. I'll show that again in a second. One of the things that was in Star Wars was the wipes
Yeah.
that went
Yeah.
between scenes. They were stolen right out of these.
I mean, talk about
Yeah.
like the parts at the beginning that sort of catches you up to speed.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah. If
Right.
you watch the first Flash Gordon serial, it's the beginning of Star Wars. Like
That's right.
land on like a desert planet. There's kind of like a robot looking thing. You know, it's the beginning of Star Wars.
So and here's Buster Crabbe, and Look magazine at the time was actually a lower class magazine. They didn't really look like the look that we're familiar with, or at least I was, until about 1940-41 when they went a little more upscale. So there's a little bit of sleaze in here. Look at this, hobo women. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to give people this baseline that says that when you look at the mythos of Star Wars in particular, you cannot get there
without Flash Gordon and Buck
Yeah.
Rogers. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and superhero comics. That's the
Right.
like the Flash
Right.
Gordon, Buck Rogers birthed superhero comics too.
Yes, exactly. And these are the two pulps. This is now very collectible.
I like the word scientific fiction, which I
Right.
associate with EC, but I guess they didn't invent that term.
Well, no.
scientific fiction.
Well, here it is. This is 1929, and
Yeah.
this is the term they used back then for science fiction.
Right. Yeah.
They
that's
had
smart.
not gone ahead and this was the first evolution, because Amazing Stories was the very first science fiction magazine, period.
Yeah.
And that came out in 1926. This is 1928 and 1929. And there were a couple of others at this time, but not that. There were only like 2 or 3 more. But by the time 1930 rolled around, more publishers started getting into the science fiction realm. So there was a couple of years where it was just the domain of Amazing and the Gernsback stuff, but that's for another time. Okay, so we want to cut it for a second?
Yeah.
We don't even have to cut.
Right. And we should really be snappy
Yeah,
because
yeah.
because
Yeah.
we there will be one more
Yeah, there will be one more stop perhaps
Notification?
for the 10%.
Okay.
and then
Yeah. I know. Oh, wait a minute. Let me just get this. Okay.
and I think that next stop might be cold.
It might be.
Yeah, I think that happens sometimes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and it's a little tight in there, Warren, but it's all there. So
Yeah. Okay. No,
So
I got you.
maintain
so
this.
I'm gonna
All right.
tighten it up and for Jimmy.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, this is one of the most historic pieces of comics you will see, because this is the very first Sunday page for Buck Rogers.
Okay, the first Sunday, but not the first.
Not the first one,
Page
right?
of
For
Buck.
about the year before, starting in '29, there was a daily done by Dick Hawkins. This was done by Russell Keaton, and because we're in Pittsburgh, it's very appropriate that what happened. Basically, Buck Rogers falls asleep in a cave. He wakes up 500 years later. He runs into Wilma Deering, sister of Buddy Deering, and basically she tells the story about what happened in the world where the Mongols, the Red Mongols, came over from Asia with these giant machines and basically destroyed everything. And they're now trying to fight back. And it's very interesting because Ming the Merciless was also Asian. And this leads right into one of the great themes going through comics, Sunday pages, and the pulps, was the evil that was over in Asia, the overt racist evil that was over in Asia. So anyway, so this is the first one, and so these first year or two of Buck Rogers was actually the story of Wilma and Buddy Deering and how they were fighting back against the Mongol horde. And I want to, part of this is to show people how the maturity of the drawing, and this is only a couple of months later, you can see things have gotten a little tight. Here is 50 days later, we drifted down on Mars, and so here's this Martian surface. You can see, everyone thought there were canals on Mars, and of course we know that's not the case.
Yeah, it feels much more science fiction already.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Still some fairy tale, like Art Nouveau kind of elements to it too.
right, but also think about it. You're a kid in 1930, you're 8 or 9 years old, like Ray Bradbury, and you're seeing spaceships, and they're off
Yeah.
to Mars, and it was unlike anything else that these kids had ever seen before.
It also is, you see these subtitles for the strip for this I was going to say issue, but for this installment, and it's very much, you can see how serials,
Yeah.
they're hand in hand with the way serials
Yes.
were presenting this, the way Sunday pages were presented.
Right, and speaking of serials, Buck Rogers came out early 1930 at the same time Tarzan came out, and this is what set off the adventure comic strip. Up until this point, comic strips were pretty self-contained in that they were a single story on Sunday, and they didn't carry over from Sunday to Sunday. This was a whole different kettle of fish, and pretty soon you had Terry and the Pirates and Flash Gordon and all of these other great adventure strips that people would read. Dick Tracy, week after week.
Yeah.
What's going to happen next? Same thing as the serials.
They even had to figure out that part, man, because the daily strip story would be independent of the Sunday story in a lot of those strips.
Right.
It's like Rocket Sam, Chris Ware.
Yes,
I feel like I
exactly.
could take that character
Yeah,
right into it.
exactly. No. That is
We are dealing with almost more iconography than filmic kind
Yeah.
of staging.
Yeah.
It's almost like paper cutouts or something.
That's-
It's very
that-
left to right.
That's kind of the difference between Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon.
Yeah, this is very raw work.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Very raw work.
yeah, and of course, even and we'll see some examples a little later. You can see the spacesuits they were
Yeah.
wearing.
It's like steampunk.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It is steampunk. Here we go, and then
But using every crayon in the coloring box for sure.
and then the spaceships.
You don't see this adventurous approach to color really anywhere in like the current visual arts landscape.
No, and I love these, and we've got a better one, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But I love the spaceships.
And notice we're in outer space, but you're not getting black. Like that could have been
Right.
devastating
Yeah, that's a printing.
inside of a newspaper.
Almost certainly a printing choice.
And we have robots. There is a robot that Buddy Deering controls by voice. Where have we heard this before? Okay.
A voice-controlled hovering robot.
Yes, exactly. Don't worry, Amazon's working on that now.
I mean, all this stuff is history now. Like
Yeah.
that stuff we're talking about is like 10 years ago.
And this is one of my fave Buck Rogers Sundays ever, and I love it because of all of these spaceships. And I wanted to show everybody that this was not done in a voice. This is 1932. Well, in 1926, Frank R. Paul was doing this, and you just look at this one here, this spaceship here, and this one up here, and you understand where these people got this from. So they didn't. So don't get me wrong. Giving them props for doing great stuff, but it didn't come out of thin air.
Yeah, they're capturing a moment in time.
That's right.
And even before this, Neil deGrasse Tyson would give talks, and he has a traveling show. He was in Pittsburgh when we were
Yes.
at Comics Pro, where he takes movies and sort of gives you the science behind that. Let's go, Tom. Let's be a little professional. And he was talking about science fiction stuff in like the 1800s.
Yes, right.
They were talking about ships with hemp rope that are floating around, like alien ships
Yeah.
with boats with hemp rope on Mars, because that was the height of human technology
Right.
in terms of travel then. So when you see stuff like this in this car, I mean, what did those like Ford clunkers look like from this period with the soft edges and,
Yeah, yeah.
and things like that? So it's pulling from what we know in the culture, and then you kind of
Yeah, it's like the
twist it up.
Titanic or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Almost that. I was like, is that a spaceship battleship Yamamoto?
But this is the stuff Jack Kirby was looking at when he
Right.
was a kid. Probably one of these is like the one he fished out of the storm drain.
Well, yeah, and there are other artists like Elliot Dold and Wesolowski that when you look at what they were doing for interiors, for inside labs, then you look at Kirby, you go, oh. Anyway, so as much as this stuff is great, I just love the look. Okay, and like I said, just imagine being a young little kid. This stuff I would have been blown away because there's no television. Radio was just starting at this point.
Yeah.
This stuff really makes me think of Jim Woodring.
Oh,
too.
totally.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like all the filigree on these kind of things, straight out
Yeah.
of Frank comics.
Yeah, so there's all of this stuff that's been brought forward through pop culture in different ways that started right here.
And he retains that color, by the way.
Yeah,
Using all kinds of primaries and things.
man, I really love this page.
This is one of the most beautiful drawings, I feel like, as we're flipping through here. It just pops so neatly to me.
It's so funny in terms of like the comics language as we know it, where you have the same kind of orange, almost the same shape. And like a little kid, that you're like, okay, it's a dragon that fucking turns into a spaceship because it's in the
Right.
same pose,
And-
same bulk.
And here, in terms of stay tuned next week, here's a recap.
Yeah.
Okay, that happens at the beginning, so that if you come in the middle, it's like, oh, okay, I can start here, which of course you can't do in today's comic books, which really pisses me off.
Oh, it's garbage.
And of course here it's still not Buck Rogers. This is still Buddy Deering and Wilma, and here it is sincerely Buck Rogers. So they're giving Buck the role of the narrator. Okay.
The interlocutor, if you will.
You know what this is? This is the prequel. This is like the Star Wars prequel trilogy.
Yes.
Where it's like
right.
Luke Skywalker's not even born yet.
Right. And these pages were just when they did a really great page, they were gorgeous. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
So
A lot of good like room to breathe on the
yes.
page.
Well, and these are the broadsheets, and by the way, you can see this is the normal size broadsheet, but this one here, there's like an additional inch there, and then there's an additional half-inch there, and there were fewer papers that did this really large page, okay? And I was very lucky to get these. So there is Buck Rogers. Now, the other grandpa, Flash Gordon, he started in January of 1934. So Alex Raymond, King Features, like you said, they wanted something to compete with Buck Rogers because apparently it was popular enough. They were like,
All right. It's still recording.
So that's the last warning.
Yeah, we gotta
yeah,
be snappy.
that's okay. I'm on the last thing.
It should be good.
Okay, so here's Alex Raymond, and I brought enough pages. So this is very early. So this is like a couple of months after he started. Again, doesn't this look like Buck Rogers? Okay, or Frank R. Paul? Pick one of the two.
Again,
Again,
racism
right. All the racism, because there's Ming the Merciless. Gee, what race is he?
with 100% yellow plates for the skin tone.
Exactly.
And the precedent is Sax Rohmer's Fu Manchu.
Right, exactly. And then up here, the topper, Jungle Jim, no less racist. Okay.
I was gonna say they're covering all their racist bases.
Oh yeah, no, this is some bad stuff.
Jim's rapping now.
This first year of Flash Gordon, this is all the good stuff. Like the art gets better as it goes on,
Yeah.
but this is when the story is like most alive. This is this is the stuff that gets brought into comic books, into
Right.
superhero comics, and
It becomes more about like the art fetishization.
so the stories just aren't as interesting, and there were censorship issues also that,
Right.
that made things change.
And then he started doing these kinds of cities. And
Yeah.
by the way, this is stolen. I should have brought it from Franklin Booth, the illustrator.
Okay,
He takes a lot. Like this is 34. So Tarzan is that 31?
Tarzan started like 31. Yeah. So
And-
and Hal Foster was doing that at the
Yeah,
time.
and Raymond would take a lot from Foster. You could.
Yeah.
I gotta have this Foster biography, and it shows panel for panel like what Foster does and what Raymond does, and it. I like Raymond. Pale imitation. He can't capture the depth that,
Yeah.
in perspective that Foster can do.
And here you can see the first shifts. This is 35, and he
Great figure work.
Yeah.
Like you could tell this is the shit that Al Williamson is fucking jerking off
Yeah.
all over the place looking at.
but not on this page.
well,
no.
this is why I think like figure drawing becomes the central point of superhero comics.
Right.
Because everybody was growing out of this stuff.
Right, and this is 1935, so we're still 3 years away from Superman
Yeah.
starting. Okay, and so much more brushwork going on here, much better. Everything is much tighter, better expressions on the faces. Then by 1939,
Yeah.
he looks like this.
Yeah, this is where the art just goes to a whole
So
other
rich.
level.
Yeah, and he continued this until he stopped. I think like 44, 45, and Mac Rayboy, who did Captain Marvel Jr., took over.
And he was a bad motherfucker.
Man, look
Yeah.
at the Jungle Gym panels too. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
this
just
it's a
color's
nice
great.
compliment.
Like, look at the figure in shadow.
that's impressive.
You know, like that's the typical Caucasian kind of flesh, and he's clearly in shadow.
We got that Princess Leia haircut.
Yeah, sure.
The sequel takes place on a snow planet with these weird
You know,
running
I'm,
things.
I'm sorry. What were the earliest Flash Gordons? Did they have dialogue bubbles and stuff? Because now we're
Yeah,
in
that's-
full Hal Foster.
Yes,
I
no.
was gonna say
Yeah,
that.
they
Yeah,
were-
there's
yeah, they did.
dialogue,
There's
yeah,
talk.
little line.
yeah.
Yeah, it becomes less comic-y as
Right.
it goes
and more
on.
Hal Foster.
Yeah.
more Prince Valiant-y. Okay. And this, don't get me wrong, this stuff was also great. But-
Beautiful
Yeah.
to look at.
and then I just had a couple of pages I want to show that this is a complete section, and I think we already did one of these sections a while ago, but I want to show everybody what it looked like in context. And here is your typical Frank R. Paul, Buck Rogers spaceship that he hadn't taken it anything past what you had seen, and all this stuff is just beautifully drawn. And
Yeah,
of
it's
course,
a stunning page.
and because it's you only have 6 panels now. Of course, the story starts to slow up.
Yeah.
You can't do as much in those panels.
Look at this figure. Something for Dad on Sunday morning to.
Oh
he's
yeah,
rating
yeah,
with
yeah,
Junior.
absolutely. So
And
go ahead.
just in context, you put this stuff together. You put the sort of Phantom costume plus all this kind of stuff, and you get the superhero. You got
Right.
these like sort of agents of Hydra or like AIM guys.
Yeah.
so
And
then-
that little Annie thing. What was
What,
so? That's
what
like a little
hack
Annie
thing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, little Annie Rooney. She's
Yeah.
called.
yeah, little Annie
And look
Rooney,
at the
right.
dog, with
sure.
the eyes.
Shameless.
And then one more in context, and here is George McManus. We just got finished doing an ep on that.
And before we started filming, Ed, you had a question about like Flash Gordon, like if it were just like an invention of this, like the Syndicate was like, we want a Buck Rogers.
Yeah, he hit that. It
Yeah.
wasn't
That was on camera.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, and that's true. So they, Alex Raymond did some stuff, sent it over to the Syndicate. Syndicate said not quite good enough. He came back again, and then they accepted it in January of '34. It all started.
You know what's fun about this lettering is that's exact like drafting lettering, straight up and down.
Yeah, sure.
Almost, it's very mechanical.
They're square, which
Exactly.
is something I can remember learning that in high school.
Exactly. Yeah,
But-
you have to do that.
But when he was doing these great pages, okay, not every page is as nice as this one, you know, with these city scenes and stuff like that. They were phenomenal. There was nothing else like it out there.
When you look at the originals, also same goes for the Hal Fosters. Each of those panels is done on an independent piece of paper, and they're pasted up.
No, they're not. In fact, because I just saw some Alex. I just saw some of these originals at the Library of Congress.
Yeah.
No, it's.
Yeah, maybe
one-
later. Certainly the Hal Foster stuff. It's like it's all pasted up because first off, a piece like this, like how the fuck are you going to get way up there? But it's about typing paper size.
Right, and Foster, on at least the Prince Valiant originals that I've seen, they were all one big sheet, and he drew on the one big sheet. So there were some that were cut up, and some they did that with, but a lot of them were done. I've got my sheet of paper, I'm going to draw, okay, and they're rocking and rolling. So there it is. Luke Skywalker's grandpas, Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon. You cannot get to Luke without these.
Yeah, sure.
Amazing.
Okay.
And Lucas will admit it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I think he wanted the Flash Gordon license. They want to hook him up, so he invented his own, which
Yeah.
is a good lesson.
You don't get to Superman either. Like
Yes, right, exactly.
Krypton is Planet Mongo.
Right.
And
Yeah.
So it's basically the two dominant things in popular culture right now: Star Wars and superheroes, all sort of start here.
Well, they start here and they start in the pulps.
Yeah.
Okay, because like Fortress of Solitude, that was the October 38 issue of Doc Savage. Okay, so if you don't know about the comic strips and the pulps, you cannot know how we got to where we are today.
And Superman's an inversion of this formula.
Yes,
It's like, how about instead of a guy from Earth who goes to a weird planet, how about a
Right.
guy from a weird planet who comes
Yes,
to Earth?
exactly. And there
Super
it is.
cool. Warren, thank you so much for bringing this stuff on by. Always a pleasure to shoot with you. We'll kick it again in the summer.
Absolutely.
Kayfabers, like, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell. We'll notify you when new vids are available. And we do have a Patreon. Those patrons are watching us record this video live, and they get all the videos ahead of time, depending on that level of support. But the vids are brought to you by the books that we make. And big year of 2023 for Cartoonist Kayfabe. I'm going to have an omnibus collection of all the Hip Hop Family Tree material, which includes about 125 extra pages that aren't in the existing 4 volumes. Going to come out for this holiday season, but you could pre-order right now. Red Room is starting up again. Crypto Killers 1 and 2 can be ordered by your shop. Go to your local comic store, get that. 2 trade paperbacks of that out there. 3 X-Men Grand Design volumes are out there, and you might find an occasional WYSIWYG. Jimmy, what do you have?
Street Angel Princess of Poverty is my next book from Image Comics, out later this spring. You can pre-order that right now wherever you buy your books. You can also pick up Hulk Grand Design, Street Angel Deadliest Girl Alive, and The Plain Janes are my latest books that are available in print. You can join me on patreon.com/JimRugg to see more of my art, comics in progress, and download out-of-print zines and mini-comics.
You can pre-order I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. You can also pre-order the softcover edition of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. And check out my YouTube channel, Total Recall Show, where I animated Alan Moore's Twilight of the Superheroes pitch. And check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Tom Scioli.
And Warren, when you come back, man, you're going to have some plugs.
Absolutely.
All right, Jimmy, what else do we have?
Subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe newsletter at the links below this video. You can also find Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts, merchandise, hats, mugs, stickers, and lots more at our spread shop. That link is also under this video.
Given those marching orders, Jimmy, we'll be on our way.
Read more comics.
Boom, we got it all in.
Nice.
Wow.
That was good. Under the wire.
Push me to the limit on that one.
That Phantom, that
Put it in
last
that super-
panel of Phantom, he looks like Bruce Timm's Batman. He's
He
got
kind
that
of
like
does.
bulk
Yeah,
and
yeah, he
simplicity.
does. And the eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
Look.
Whoa.
Shut
Oh,
up.
okay, I was going to say that would have been so
Whoa.
fucking perfect.
All right,
It's switch me
so
places.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, plug your thing in there.
all right, gentlemen.
Warren, beautiful, man.
Yeah,
This
man.
was great. What a treat.
Fantastic.
I didn't want you guys to be bored.
Yeah.
It's awesome that you share this not just with us but with everybody. Because like stuff like this, I'm never seeing this anywhere else in
Sure,
my life.
yeah. Yeah, and the context is so important too, because you
Yeah.
can get collections of some of this stuff, but when you see all of it together.
Absolutely.
You get like the
And
zeitgeist.
and also, I didn't have the first Flash Gordon. I tried
Sure,
to
yeah.
get it, but to have the first Buck Rogers.
yeah,
you know,
in
it's like-
color.
in color, right? Exactly.
Now, Warren, the way we've been doing things lately is we kind of plan ahead,
Yeah.
probably by like a month.
Yeah. Okay.
And we have guests set up.
right.
And so the reason why we had to do this truncated version with you is because we had guests planned, and
Oh,
it was
no
like
problem.
we couldn't pass it up.
Yeah.
And then me and Jimmy can only devote X amount of hours per week to this. So summertime comes, like when
Yeah.
when
Oh
you
no,
start
no.
to-
I'll give you.
give me some heads up.
Yeah. No, I'll give you much more heads up.
And then we could do the day if you want to do the day. If this is plenty for you, like we love to do a week's worth with you, but like if.
Look, you got 4 days.
Yeah, that's
okay,
not
so-
bad at all.
No,
Exactly.
no.
So I mean, it's about where your levels are at, man, and how much you
Look,
want to.
we've done entire weeks before, and by the way, I've linked every one of my Cartoonist Kayfabe, so I know where they all are if I want to send them out to people. This is like number 34 or 35
Amazing.
I've done, which is like,
Yeah, that is crazy.
I'm like, oh, and there is one thing I wanted to look up real quick.
Stuff like the one we went to his house, like that's in 20,000.
Yeah.
Well, yes,
It's big videos.
Well, as a matter of fact,
We are still recording. Shouts to the Kayfabers, man, who are hanging out in the chat with us. We're gonna get to editing this, and then we got one more video we're gonna shoot today, man. We're gonna sit Tom down, and
what are you guys gonna do?
we're gonna talk, kind of do a Tom shoot interview, man, to promote
Oh, cool.
his forthcoming Stan Lee book.
Yeah, I need to do a book because then you guys will
Right,
put
yeah,
it
that
out
you gotta have
for me,
something
okay?
to
Oh,
promote.
and you'll plug it every episode, man. Like absolutely.
Yeah, well, I wanted to just look this up real fast. Here we go.
Yeah, Warren, you've got several books in you, just all these little
Here we go.
talks.
23,000 views.
Yeah, it's nice.
23,000 views for the collection tour. And let me see.
And I feel like we could go back to your place, do another
Oh,
3-hour
yeah,
video,
sure.
and talk and look at all different things.
Yeah. Well,
And people, and by the way, like at the time that we recorded that, I don't think we had 10,000 subscribers.
but the other one that's actually blown up, much to my, not to my surprise.
What is it, Nemo?
No, the Galactus trilogy,
Galactus trilogy.
25,000.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's our audience.
By the way, and that's one of those episodes where I thank you for allowing me to do that. Okay, because
Thank you, man. We had the issues.
that was
Like that's the real shit, you know.
and that is my favorite superhero story
That's an
of all
awesome
time.
one. Yeah, that's up there for me too.
I was it's just one of those things that when you said you were going to do it, I was like, yes.
Oh, it's great.
All right, so let me start putting this
Take-
stuff away.
Take your time.
All right, and then I'll get out of your hair and.
Yeah, what you gonna do this weekend, man?
Well, I'm gonna hang out with my cousin. I'm gonna go back tomorrow afternoon. So I'm gonna see my cousin. My cousin's friends will go to the museum.
Yeah, no ball games today, huh?
No, but when I come back in August, I'm gonna go to a bowl game because
Yeah.
my cousin's husband, John, is a full season ticket holder for the Pirates. His seats are like 10 rows back behind home plate.
It's the Pirates. That shit costs $50.
Yeah, I know. But it's still the great thing to be sitting behind home plate.
Might be slightly better this year. Hey Warren, do you know the magazine? I think it's called True Men's Adventure.
Yeah.
Do you collect those? By any
No,
chance?
I do not. I know exactly.
Oh my goodness, man.
Possibly.
You make it. Well,
Yeah, I'll
you know
bring
what?
it
I'll,
in more.
I'll stop the stream. Hang on, I gotta grab that
That's how
box.
I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to your Stanley
Oh,
thing.
thanks. Yeah, I was thinking of you when you brought.
All right, Kayfabers, we're gonna bounce and go do some Tom talks.
How to
More videos forthcoming to you guys. Cheers, then thank you.
Um,